Hi Ravon. I love you Raven.
Hey guys! Hi King, hi Question, hi Juvie, Val, Sequoia. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for the resubscription, Juvie, I love you. Short stream today, short bonus stream. We're going to finish listening to The Island of Dr. Moreau. We're on chapter 17 out of 22, I think. So I went back to chapter 16 so we can revisit the last one. I'm going to work on my Cult of the Lamb animatic while I'm invisible. But I'm gonna work on my Cult of the Lamb animatic while we, listen to that. I'm pretty close to done. I have this month to get it done. I want to finish this month. I want to finish it this month. I want to finish this month. So hopefully we'll have the Cult of the Lamb animation done this month. So I really gotta lock in. So that's why we're listening to more books while we work on animatic stuff. Probably gonna be a short stream because we only have like an hour and a half left of the book. But after we finish the book, we are also going to I blink separately. After we finish the book, we're gonna hang out and chat a little bit while I do some doodles, because I want to do Cult of the Lamb work, finish up the couple scenes that I'm working on, and then I want to draw some... God, we gotta find a name for these men. I want to draw some of my ancient China men. 15 stream streak, Juvia. That's kind of surprising with how busy you are. Oh, Windmen. Because I've got to come up with a ship name for these guys. But I want to do some doodles of them, some scenes that I have in my noggin. Mostly because Wawa's been drawing them and I want to also be drawing them. I'm trying to get my workies done, but I also want to draw them so bad. When I finish the Cult of the Lamb animation, I want to do a little animatic of them. Just like something quick so I can practice. Just something quick. They continue a streak if I watch within 24 hours. I see. If you click the button. Something quick, he says. Something quick. I would never lie. You see, I would never lie. I just want to do a short animatic. See, the Cult of the Lamb animatic is like 7 minutes, but the one I want to do for the Where Winds Meet OCs, it's gonna be like less than 2 minutes, so... But I gotta finish the Cult of the Lamb one first, and then we work on Crow's stuff for a bit, maybe. Well, then we work on OCR and R. I gotta finish the next OCR and R. The next episode is about clothing design and how that affects your world building and what it says about your characters. There's so much to talk about. That one's gonna be maybe a little long, maybe a little rambly. Chubby's gonna join me for that one, I think. So after Cult of the Lamb, we're gonna do OCR and R. I'm gonna do a quick little animation on Clip Studio to practice animating on that, because that's something I've acquired. And then more Crow stuff. So I have plans. I have to lock in. So in order to lock in, we're gonna be listening to a book. And reconvene with what was happening on the book. Main character, Prt2. Prt2 was on this boat that crashed. Fuck. Now he's on this buoy with these like 3 other guys, and they've all decided cannibalism is the way to survival. They all die, fall off the boat. Prt2 may or may not have eaten somebody. We don't actually get an answer on that. Is rescued by this guy on this other boat, who apparently has medical practice. That's cool. The captain of this boat, drunk as hell, super racist to this medical doctor's right-hand man. Also, rude as hell. Medical doctor guy, Montgomery, is the one who saved Prt2. Montgomery goes to this island, this secluded island that nobody lives on, and they're like, sorry, Prt2, we can't let you on. And the captain goes, I hate you, Prt2, get off my boat. So Prt2 is left floating in the ocean again until Montgomery and this strange doctor he lives with take pity on him. They pull him into their house. They're like, don't go in the secret room. There's secrets in there. And Prt2 is like, okay, that's normal. So he goes to his room, and he hears animals screaming. And he's like, that's weird. I seem to remember this name, Moreau. I think he's from this, like, scandalous pamphlet of this doctor doing animal torture. That makes a lot of sense. He explores the island a little, sees these freak-ass people, is like, that's weird and I'm scared. They start stalking him through the woods. He's like, that's weird and I'm scared. So he goes back to the manor. This crazed animal screaming in the distance is still happening. Sneaks into Monroe's facility. He's like vivisecting an animal or something. But oh no, it's actually a man. Oh no, Prt2 thinks they're gonna vivisect him. So he runs away, finds more of these man-animal people, and is like, this is weird as hell, he's gonna turn me into a manimal. They find him, and they go, you idiot, come back, let us explain. So he's like, yeah, sure, okay. So he goes back to the manor where Moreau and Montgomery are. They explain that they're turning animals into people, not people into animals. He goes, oh, that makes sense. Sure. And that's kind of where we are right now. Except the animal people are also, like, starting to feel a little suspicious of Montgomery, Moreau, and Prt2 because... like, this guy was really pathetic before, and now he's with them, who have, like, all of the power. But he's, like, pathetic like us, so why should we have to listen to these guys with the power? They found out one of the animals has been eating other animals, which is a big no-no for animals, because now they have the taste of blood. Uh-oh, maybe a revolution's gonna happen. And that's where we are in the story right now. Also, hi, Unat. We're listening to an audiobook. Well, we're going to. I was recapping everything that's just happened. Basically, TLDR, Man's on this island that was supposed to be deserted. There's a freak-ass doctor here that's doing experiments on animals instead. Oh no. That's the plot of the book so far. So now we're all caught up. Now we're on chapter 16. There's 22 chapters. I'm going to mute while we listen to a couple chapters, and I work on my animation that I've got going on here. After a few chapters, I will unmute and we'll talk about what's happened. The end of the book is a little easier to understand, I will say. It flows, there's a little less things happening, I suppose. But we're almost done. We got like an hour, maybe an hour and a half left of the book. So keep your ears peeled, I guess. Keep your ears peeled.
16. How the Beast Folk Taste Blood. My inexperience as a writer betrays me, and I wander from the thread of my story. After I had breakfasted with Montgomery, he took me across the island to see the fumarole and the source of the hot springs into whose scalding waters I had blundered on the previous day. Both of us carried whips and loaded revolvers. While going through a leafy jungle on our road thither, we heard a rabbit squealing. We stopped and listened, but we heard no more, and presently we went on our way, and the incident dropped out of our minds. Montgomery called my attention to certain little pink animals with long hind legs that went leaping through the undergrowth. He told me they were creatures made of the offspring of the beast people that Moreau had invented. He had fancied they might serve for meat, but a rabbit-like habit of devouring their young had defeated this intention. I had already encountered some of these creatures, once during my moonlight flight from the Leopard Man, and once during my pursuit by Moreau on the previous day. By chance, one, hoping to avoid us, leapt into the hole caused by the uprooting of a wind-blown tree. Before it could extricate itself, we managed to catch it. It spat like a cat, scratched and kicked vigorously with its hind legs, and made an attempt to bite, but its teeth were too feeble to inflict more than a painless pinch. It seemed to me rather a pretty little creature, and as Montgomery stated that it never destroyed the turf by burrowing and was very cleanly in its habits, I should imagine it might prove a convenient substitute for the common rabbit in gentlemen's parks. We also saw, on our way, the trunk of a tree barked in long strips and splintered deeply. Montgomery called my attention to this. "Not to claw bark of trees, that is the law," he said. "Much some of them care for it." It was after this, I think, that we met the satyr and the ape-man. The satyr was a gleam of classical memory on the part of Moreau, his face ovine in expression, like the coarser Hebrew type, his voice a harsh bleat, his nether extremities satanic. He was gnawing the husk of a pod-like fruit as he passed us. Both of them saluted Montgomery. "Hail," said they, "to the other with the whip." "There's a third with the whip now," said Montgomery, "so you'd better mind." "Was he not made?" said the ape-man. He said he was made." The satyr man looked curiously at me. "The third with the whip, he that walks weeping into the sea, has a thin white face." "He has a thin, long whip," said Montgomery. "Yesterday he bled and wept," said the satyr. "You never bleed nor weep. The master does not bleed nor weep." "Ollendorff beggar," said Montgomery. "You'll bleed and weep if you don't look out." "He has 5 fingers. He is a 5-man like me," said the ape-man. "Come along, Prendick," said Montgomery, taking my arm, and I went on with him. The satyr and the ape-man stood watching us and making other remarks to each other. "He says nothing," said the satyr. "Men have voices." "Yesterday he asked me of things to eat," said the ape-man. "He did not know." Then they spoke inaudible things, and I heard the satyr laughing. It was on our way back that we came upon the dead rabbit. The red body of the wretched little beast was rent to pieces, many of the ribs stripped white, and the backbone indisputably gnawed. At that, Montgomery stopped. "Good God," said he, stooping down and picking up some of the crushed vertebrae to examine them more closely. "Good God," he repeated. "What can this mean?" "Some carnivore of yours has remembered its old habits," I said after a pause. "This backbone has been bitten through." He stood staring, with his face white and his lip pulled askew. "I don't like this," he said slowly. "I saw something of the same kind," said I, "the first day I came here." "The devil you did! What was it?" "A rabbit with its head twisted off. The day you came here." "The day I came here?" "In the undergrowth at the back of the enclosure when I went out in the evening. The head was completely wrung off." He gave a long, low whistle. "And what's more, I have an idea which of your brutes did the thing. It's only a suspicion, you know. Before I came on the rabbit, I saw one of your monsters drinking in the stream." "Sucking his drink?" "Yes." "Not to suck your drink, that is the law. Much the brutes care for the law, eh, when Moreau's not about." "It was the brute who chased me." "Of course," said Montgomery. "It's just the way with carnivores. After a kill, they drink. It's the taste of blood, you know." "What was the brute like?" he continued. "Would you know him again?" He glanced about us, standing astride over the mess of dead rabbit, his eyes roving amongst the shadows and screens of greenery, the lurking places and ambuscades of the forest that bounded us in. "The taste of blood," he said again. He took out his revolver, examined the cartridges in it, and replaced it. Then he began to pull at his dropping lip. "I think I should know the brute again," I said. "I stunned him. He ought to have a handsome bruise on the forehead of him." "But then we have to prove that he killed the rabbit," said Montgomery. "I wish I'd never brought the things here." I should have gone on, but he stayed there thinking over the mangled rabbit in a puzzle-headed way. As it was, I went to such a distance that the rabbit's remains were hidden. "Come on," I said. Presently, he woke up and came towards me. "You see," he said, almost in a whisper, "they're all supposed to have a fixed idea against eating anything that runs on land. If some brute has by accident tasted blood—" We went on some way in silence. "I wonder what can have happened," he said to himself. Then, after a pause again, "I did a foolish thing the other day. That servant of mine, I showed him how to skin and cook a rabbit. It's odd. I saw him licking his hands. It never occurred to me." Then, "We must put a stop to this. I must tell Moreau." He could think of nothing else on our homeward journey. Moreau took the matter even more seriously than Montgomery, and I need scarcely say that I was affected by their evident consternation. "We must make an example," said Moreau. "I've no doubt in my own mind that the leopard man was the sinner, but how can we prove it? I wish, Montgomery, you had kept your taste for meat in hand and gone without these exciting novelties. We may find ourselves in a mess yet through it." "I was a silly ass," said Montgomery, "but the thing's done now, and you said I might have them, you know." "We must see to the thing at once," said Moreau. "I suppose if anything should turn up, Meling can take care of himself." "I'm not so sure of Meling," said Montgomery. "I think I ought to know him." In the afternoon, Moreau, Montgomery, myself, and Meling went across the island to the huts in the ravine. We three were armed. Meling carried the little hatchet he used in chopping firewood and some coils of wire. Moreau had a huge cowherd's horn slung over his shoulder. "You will see a gathering of the beast people," said Montgomery. "It is a pretty sight." Moreau said not a word on the way, but the expression of his heavy, white-fringed face was grimly set. We crossed the ravine down which smoked the stream of hot water, and followed the winding pathway through the cane brakes until we reached a wide area covered over with a thick, powdery yellow substance, which I believe was sulphur. Above the shoulder of a weedy bank the sea glittered. We came to a kind of shallow natural amphitheatre, and here the four of us halted. Then Moreau sounded the horn and broke the sleeping stillness of the tropical afternoon. He must have had strong lungs. The hooting note rose and rose amidst its echoes to, at last, an ear-penetrating intensity. "Ah," said Moreau, letting the curved instrument fall to his side again. Immediately there was a crashing through the yellow canes and a sound of voices from the dense green jungle that marked the morass through which I had run on the previous day. Then, at 3 or 4 points on the edge of the sulphurous area, appeared the grotesque forms of the beast people hurrying towards us. I could not help a creeping horror as I perceived first one, then another trot out from the trees or reeds and come shambling along over the hot dust. But Moreau and Montgomery stood calmly enough, and perforce I stuck behind them. First to arrive was the satyr, strangely unreal for all that he cast a shadow and tossed the dust with his hoofs. After him from the brake came a monstrous lout, a thing of horse and rhinoceros, chewing a straw as it came. Then appeared the swine women and 2 wolf women, then the fox-bear witch with her red eyes in her peaked red face, and then others, all hurrying eagerly. As they came forward, they began to cringe towards Moreau and chant, quite regardless of one another, fragments of the latter half of the litany of the law. His is the hand that wounds, his is the hand that heals, and so forth. As soon as they had approached within a distance of perhaps 30 yards, they halted, and, bowing on knees and elbows, began flinging the white dust upon their heads. Imagine the scene, if you can. We, 3 blue-clad men with our misshapen black-faced attendant, standing in a wide expanse of sunlit yellow dust under the blazing blue sky, and surrounded by this circle of crouching and gesticulating monstrosities, some almost human save in their subtle expressions and gestures, some like cripples, some so strangely distorted as to resemble nothing but the denizens of our wildest dreams, and beyond, the reedy lines of a canebrake in one direction, a dense tangle of palm trees on the other, separating us from the ravine with the huts, and to the north, the hazy horizon of the Pacific Ocean. 62, 63, counted Moreau. There are 4 more. I do not see the leopard man, said I. Presently, Moreau sounded the great horn again, and at the sound of it all the beast people writhed and grovelled in the dust. Then, slinking out of the canebrake, stooping near the ground and trying to join the dust-throwing circle behind Moreau's back, came the leopard man. The last of the beast people to arrive was the little ape man. The earlier animals, hot and weary with their grovelling, shot vicious glances at him. "Cease!" said Moreau, in his firm, loud voice, and the beast people sat back upon their hams and rested from their worshipping. "Where is the sayer of the law?" said Moreau, and the hairy grey monster bowed his face in the dust. "Say the words," said Moreau. Forthwith, all in the kneeling assembly, swaying from side to side and dashing up the sulphur with their hands, first the right hand and a puff of dust, and then the left, began once more to chant their strange litany. When they reached, "Not to eat flesh or fish, that is the law," Moreau held up his lank white hand. "Stop!" he cried, and there fell absolute silence upon them all. I think they all knew and dreaded what was coming. I looked round at their strange faces. When I saw their wincing attitudes and their furtive dread in their bright eyes, I wondered that I had ever believed them to be men. "That law has been broken," said Moreau. "None escape," from the faceless creature with the silvery hair. "None escape," repeated the kneeling circle of beast people. "Who is he?" cried Moreau, and looked around at their faces, cracking his whip. I fancied the hyena swine looked dejected. So too did the leopard man. Moreau stopped, facing this creature, who cringed towards him with the memory and dread of infinite torment. "Who is he?" repeated Moreau in a voice of thunder. "Evil is he who breaks the law," chanted the sayer of the law. Moreau looked into the eyes of the leopard man and seemed to be dragging the very soul out of the creature. "Who breaks the law?" said Moreau, taking his eyes off his victim and turning towards us. It seemed to me there was a touch of exultation in his voice. "Goes back to the house of pain," they all clamoured. "Goes back to the house of pain, O master." "Back to the house of pain, back to the house of pain," gabbled the ape-man, as though the idea was sweet to him. "Do you hear?" said Moreau, turning back to the criminal. "My friend—" "Hello!" For the leopard man, released from Moreau's eyes, had risen straight from his knees, and now, with eyes aflame and his huge feline tusks flashing out from under his curling lips, leapt towards his tormentor. I am convinced that only the madness of unendurable fear could have prompted this attack. The whole circle of 80 monsters seemed to rise about us. I drew my revolver. The two figures collided. I saw Moreau reeling back from the leopard man's blow. There was a furious yelling and howling all about us. Everyone was moving rapidly. For a moment I thought it was a general revolt. The furious face of the leopard man flashed by mine, with Maling close in pursuit. I saw the yellow eyes of the hyena swine blazing with excitement, his attitude as if he were half resolved to attack me. The satyr, too, glared at me over the hyena swine's hunched shoulders. I heard the crack of Moreau's pistol and saw the pink flash dart across the tumult. The whole crowd seemed to swing round in the direction of the glint of fire, and I, too, was swung round by the magnetism of the movement. In another second, I was running, one of a tumultuous shouting crowd in pursuit of the escaping leopard man. That is all I can tell, definitely. I saw the leopard man strike Moreau, and then everything spun about me until I was running headlong. Maling was ahead, close in pursuit of the fugitive. Behind, their tongues already lolling out, ran the wolf women in great leaping strides. The swine folk followed, squealing with excitement, and the 2 bull men in their swathings of white. Then came Moreau in a cluster of the beast people, his wide-brimmed straw hat blown off, his revolver in hand, and his lank white hair streaming out. The hyena swine ran beside me, keeping pace with me, and glancing furtively at me out of his feline eyes, and the others came pattering and shouting behind us. The leopard man went bursting his way through the long canes, which sprang back as he passed and rattled in Maling's face. We others in the rear found a trampled path for us when we reached the break. The chase lay through the break for perhaps a quarter of a mile, and then plunged into a dense thicket which retarded our movements exceedingly, though we went through it in a crowd together. Fronds flicking into our faces, ropey creepers catching us under the chin or gripping our ankles, thorny plants hooking into and tearing cloth and flesh together. "He has gone all 4s through this," panted Moreau, now just ahead of me. "None escape," said the wolf bear, laughing into my face with the exultation of hunting. We burst out again amongst the rocks and saw the quarry ahead running lightly on all 4s and snarling at us over his shoulder. At that, the wolf folk howled with delight. The thing was still clothed, and at a distance its face still seemed human, but the carriage of its 4 limbs were feline, and the furtive droop of its shoulders was distinctly that of a hunted animal. It leapt over some thorny yellow flowering bushes and was hidden. Maling was halfway across the space. Most of us now had lost the first speed of the chase and had fallen into a longer and steadier stride. I saw, as we traversed the open, that the pursuit was now spreading from a column into a line. The hyena swine still ran close to me, watching me as it ran, every now and again puckering its muzzle with a snarling laugh. At the edge of the rocks, the leopard man, realizing that he was making for the projecting cape upon which he had stalked me on the night of my arrival, had doubled in the undergrowth. But Montgomery had seen the maneuver and turned him again. So, panting, tumbling against rocks, torn by brambles, impeded by ferns and reeds, I helped to pursue the leopard man who had broken the law, and the hyena swine ran, laughing savagely by my side. I staggered on, my head reeling and my heart beating against my ribs, tired almost to death, and yet not daring to lose sight of the chase, lest I should be left alone with this horrible companion. I staggered on in spite of infinite fatigue and the dense heat of the tropical afternoon. At last, the fury of the hunt slackened. We had pinned the wretched brute into a corner of the island. Moreau, whip in hand, marshalled us all into an irregular line, and we advanced now slowly, shouting to one another as we advanced and tightened the cordon about our victim. He lurked, noiseless and invisible in the bushes through which I had run from him during that midnight pursuit. "Steady!" cried Moreau. "Steady!" as the ends of the line crept around the tangle of undergrowth and hemmed the brute in. "Where a rush!" came the voice of Montgomery from beyond the thicket. I was on the slope above the bushes. Montgomery and Moreau beat along the beach beneath. Slowly we pushed in among the fretted network of branches and leaves. The quarry was silent. "Back to the house of pain, the house of pain, the house of pain," yelped the voice of the ape-man, some 20 yards to the right. When I heard that, I forgave the poor wretch all the fear he had inspired in me. I heard the twigs snap and the boughs swish aside before the heavy tread of the horse rhinoceros upon my right. Then, suddenly, through a polygon of green in the half-darkness under the luxuriant growth, I saw the creature we were hunting. I halted. He was crouched together into the smallest possible compass, his luminous green eyes turned over his shoulder, regarding me. It may seem a strange contradiction in me. I cannot explain the fact. But now, seeing the creature there in a perfectly animal attitude, with the light gleaming in its eyes and its imperfectly human face distorted with terror, I realized again the fact of its humanity. In another moment, other of its pursuers would see it, and it would be overpowered and captured to experience once more the horrible tortures of the enclosure. Abruptly, I slipped out my revolver, aimed between its terror-struck eyes, and fired. As I did so, the hyena swine saw the thing and flung itself upon it with an eager cry, thrusting thirsty teeth into its neck. All about me the green masses of the thicket were swaying and cracking as the beast people came rushing together. One face and then another appeared. "Don't kill it, Prendick!" cried Moreau. "Don't kill it!" And I saw him stooping as he pushed through under the fronds of the big ferns. In another moment he had beaten off the hyena swine with the handles of his whip, and he and Montgomery were keeping away the excited carnivorous beast people, and particularly Maling from the still quivering body. The hairy grey thing came sniffing at the corpse under my arm. The other animals, in their animal ardour, jostled me to get a nearer view. "Confound you, Prendick," said Moreau. "I wanted him." "I'm sorry," said I, though I was not. It was the impulse of the moment. I felt sick with exertion and excitement. Turning, I pushed my way out of the crowding beast people and went on alone up the slope towards the higher part of the headland. Under the shouted directions of Moreau, I heard the 3 white-swathed bullmen begin dragging the victim down towards the water. It was easy now for me to be alone. The beast people manifested a quite human curiosity about the dead body, and followed it in a thick knot, sniffing and growling at it as the bullmen dragged it down the beach. I went to the headland and watched the bullmen, black against the evening sky, as they carried the weighted dead body out to sea. And like a wave across my mind came the realization of the unspeakable aimlessness of things upon the island. Upon the beach, among the rocks beneath me, were the ape-man, the hyena swine, and several other of the beast people, standing about Montgomery and Moreau. They were all still intensely excited, and all overflowing with noisy expressions of their loyalty to the law. Yet I felt an absolute assurance in my own mind that the hyena swine was implicated in the rabbit killing. A strange persuasion came upon me that, save for the grossness of the line, the grotesqueness of the forms, I had here before me the whole balance of human life in miniature. The whole interplay of instinct, reason, and fate in its simplest form. The leopard man had happened to go under. That was all the difference. Poor brute. Poor brutes. I began to see the viler aspect of Moreau's cruelty. I had not thought before of the pain and trouble that came to these poor victims after they passed from Moreau's hands. I had shivered only at the days of actual torment in the enclosure, but now that seemed to me the lesser part. Before they had been beasts, their instincts fitly adapted to their surroundings and happy as living things may be. Now they stumbled in the shackles of humanity, living in a fear that never died, fretted by a law they could not understand. Their mock-human existence, begun in an agony, was one long internal struggle, one long dread of Moreau. And for what? It was the wantonness of it that stirred me. Had Moreau any intelligible object, I could have sympathized at least a little with him. I'm not so squeamish about pain as that. I could have forgiven him a little even had his motive been only hate. But he was so irresponsible, so utterly careless. His curiosity, his mad, aimless investigations drove him on, and the things were thrown out to live a year or so, to struggle and blunder and suffer, and at last to die painfully. They were wretched in themselves. The old animal hate moved them to trouble one another. The law held them back from a brief hot struggle and a decisive end to their natural animosities. In those days, my fear of the beast people went the way of my personal fear of Moreau. I fell, indeed, into a morbid state, deep and enduring and alien to fear, which has left permanent scars upon my mind. I must confess that I lost faith in the sanity of the world when I saw it suffering the painful disorder of this island. A blind fate, a vast pitiless mechanism seemed to cut and shape the fabric of existence, and I, Moreau, by his passion for research, Montgomery, by his passion for drink, the best people with their instincts and mental restrictions were torn and crushed ruthlessly, inevitably, amid the infinite complexity of its incessant wheels. But this condition did not come all at once. I think, indeed, that I anticipate a little in speaking of it now. 17. A catastrophe. Scarcely 6 weeks passed before I had lost every feeling but dislike and abhorrence for this infamous experiment of Moreau's. The one idea was to get away from these horrible caricatures of my Maker's image, back to the sweet and wholesome intercourse of men. My fellow creatures, from whom I was thus separated, began to assume idyllic virtue and beauty in my memory. My first friendship with Montgomery did not increase. His long separation from humanity, his secret vice of drunkenness, his evident sympathy with the beast people tainted him to me. Several times I let him go alone among them. I avoided intercourse with them in every possible way. I spent an increasing proportion of my time upon the beach, looking for some liberating sail that never appeared, until one day there fell upon us an appalling disaster, which put an altogether different aspect upon my strange surroundings. It was about 7 or 8 weeks after my landing, rather more, I think, though I had not troubled to keep account of the time, when this catastrophe occurred. It happened in the early morning, I should think about 6. I had risen and breakfasted early, having been aroused by the noise of 3 beastmen carrying wood into the enclosure. After breakfast, I went to the open gateway of the enclosure and stood there smoking a cigarette and enjoying the freshness of the early morning. Moreau presently came round the corner of the enclosure and greeted me. He passed by me, and I heard him behind me unlock and enter his laboratory. So indurated was I at that time to the abomination of the place that I heard without a touch of emotion the puma victim begin another day of torture. It met its persecutor with a shriek, almost exactly like that of an angry virago. Then, suddenly, something happened. I do not know what to this day. I heard a short, sharp cry behind me, a fall, and turning, saw an awful face rushing upon me. Not human, not animal, but hellish, brown, seamed with red branching scars, red drops starting out upon it, and the lidless eyes ablaze. I threw up my arm to defend myself from the blow that flung me headlong with a broken forearm, and the great monster, swathed in lint and with red-stained bandages fluttering about it, leapt over me and passed. I rolled over and over down the beach, tried to sit up, and collapsed upon my broken arm. Then Moreau appeared, his massive white face all the more terrible for the blood that trickled from his forehead. He carried a revolver in one hand. He scarcely glanced at me, but rushed off at once in pursuit of the puma. I tried the other arm and sat up. The muffled figure in front ran in great striding leaps along the beach, and Moreau followed her. She turned her head and saw him, then doubling abruptly made for the bushes. She gained upon him at every stride. I saw her plunged into them, and Moreau, running slantingly to intercept her, fired and missed as she disappeared. Then he too vanished in the green confusion. I stared after them, and then the pain in my arm flamed up, and with a groan I staggered to my feet. Montgomery appeared in the doorway, dressed and with a revolver in his hand. "Great God, Prendick," he said, not noticing that I was hurt. "That brute's loose, tore the fetter out of the wall. Have you seen them?" Then, sharply, seeing I gripped my arm, "What's the matter?" "I was standing in the doorway," said I. He came forward and took my arm. "Blood on the sleeve," said he, and rolled back the flannel. He pocketed his weapon, felt my arm about painfully, and led me inside. "Your arm is broken," he said, and then, "Tell me exactly how it happened. What happened?" I told him what I had seen. Told him in broken sentences with gasps of pain between them, and very dexterously and swiftly he bound my arm meanwhile. He slung it from my shoulder, stood back, and looked at me. "You'll do," he said. "And now?" He thought, and he went out and locked the gates of the enclosure. He was absent some time. I was chiefly concerned about my arm. The incident seemed merely one more of many horrible things. I sat down in the deck chair and, I must admit, swore heartily at the island. The first dull feeling of injury in my arm had already given way to a burning pain when Montgomery reappeared. His face was rather pale, and he showed more of his lower gums than ever. "I can neither see nor hear anything of him," he said. "I've been thinking he may want my help." He stared at me with his expressionless eyes. "That was a strong brute," he said. "It simply wrenched its fetter out of the wall." He went to the window, then to the door, and there turned to me. "I shall go after him," he said. "There's another revolver I can leave with you. To tell you the truth, I feel anxious somehow." He obtained the weapon and put it ready to my hand on the table, then went out, leaving a restless contagion in the air. I did not sit long after he left, but took the revolver in hand and went to the doorway. The morning was still as death. Not a whisper of wind was stirring. The sea was like polished glass, the sky empty, the beach desolate. In my half-excited, half-feverish state, the stillness of things oppressed me. I tried to whistle, and the tune died away. I swore again, the second time that morning. Then I went to the corner of the enclosure and stared inland at the green bush that had swallowed up Moreau and Montgomery. When would they return, and how? Then, Far away up the beach, a little grey beast man appeared, ran down to the water's edge, and began splashing about. I strolled back to the doorway, then to the corner again, and so began pacing to and fro like a sentinel upon duty. Once I was arrested by the distant voice of Montgomery bawling, "Cooey! Moreau!" My arm became less painful but very hot. I got feverish and thirsty. My shadow grew shorter. I watched the distant figure until it went away again. Would Moreau and Montgomery never return? 3 seabirds began fighting for some stranded treasure. Then, from far away behind the enclosure, I heard a pistol shot. A long silence, and then came another. Then a yelling cry, nearer, and another dismal gap of silence. My unfortunate imagination set to work to torment me. Then suddenly a shot close by. I went to the corner, startled, and saw Montgomery, his face scarlet, his hair disordered, and the knee of his trousers torn. His face expressed profound consternation. Behind him slouched the beast man, Maling, and round Maling's jaws were some queer, dark stains. "Has he come?" said Montgomery. "Moreau," said I. "No. My God." The man was panting, almost sobbing. "Go back in," he said, taking my arm. "They're mad. They're all rushing about, mad. What can have happened? I don't know. I'll tell you when my breath comes. Where's some brandy?" Montgomery limped before me into the room and sat down in the deck chair. Maling flung himself down just outside the doorway and began panting like a dog. I got Montgomery some brandy and water. He sat staring in front of him at nothing, recovering his breath. After some minutes, he began to tell me what had happened. He had followed their track for some way. It was plain enough at first on account of the crushed and broken bushes, white rags torn from the puma's bandages, and occasional smears of blood on the leaves of the shrubs and undergrowth. He lost the track, however, on the stony ground beyond the stream where I had seen the beast man drinking, and went wandering aimlessly westward, shouting Moreau's name. Then Maling came to him carrying a light hatchet. Maling had seen nothing of the puma affair, had been felling wood, and heard him calling. They went on shouting together. 2 beastmen came crouching and peering at them through the undergrowth, with gestures and a furtive carriage that alarmed Montgomery by their strangeness. He hailed them, and they fled guiltily. He stopped shouting after that, and after wandering some time further in an undecided way, determined to visit the huts. He found the ravine deserted. Growing more alarmed every minute, he began to retrace his steps. Then it was he encountered the 2 swine men I had seen dancing on the night of my arrival. Blood-stained they were about the mouth, and intensely excited. They came crashing through the ferns and stopped with fierce faces when they saw him. He cracked his whip in some trepidation, and forthwith they rushed at him. Never before had a beastman dared to do that. One he shot through the head. Maling flung himself upon the other, and the 2 rolled, grappling. Maling got his brute under and with his teeth in his throat, and Montgomery shot that too as it struggled in Maling's grip. He had some difficulty in inducing Maling to come with him. Thence they had hurried back to me. On the way, Maling had suddenly rushed into a thicket and driven out an undersized ocelot man, also blood-stained and lame through a wound in the foot. This brute had run a little way and then turned savagely at bay, and Montgomery, with a certain wantonness, I thought, had shot him. "What does it all mean?" said I. He shook his head and turned once more to the brandy. 18. The Finding of Moreau. When I saw Montgomery swallow a 3rd dose of brandy, I took it upon myself to interfere. He was already more than half fuddled. I told him that some serious thing must have happened to Moreau by this time, or he would have returned before this, and that it behooved us to ascertain what that catastrophe was. Montgomery raised some feeble objections and at last agreed. We had some food, and then all three of us started. It is possibly due to the tension of my mind at the time, but even now that start into the hot stillness of the tropical afternoon is a singularly vivid impression. Maling went first, his shoulders hunched, his strange black head moving with quick starts as he peered first on this side of the way and then on that. He was unarmed, his axe he had dropped when he encountered the swine man. Teeth were his weapons when it came to fighting. Montgomery followed with stumbling footsteps, his hands in his pockets, his face downcast. He was in a state of muddled sullenness with me on account of the brandy. My left arm was in a sling. It was lucky it was my left, and I carried my revolver in my right. Soon we traced a narrow path through the wild luxuriance of the island, going northwestward, and presently Maling stopped and became rigid with watchfulness. Montgomery also staggered into him and then stopped too. Then, listening intently, we heard, coming through the trees, the sound of voices and footsteps approaching us. "He is dead," said a deep, vibrating voice. "He's not dead, he's not dead," jabbered another. We saw," said several voices. "Hello!" suddenly shouted Montgomery. "Hello there!" "Confound you," said I, and gripped my pistol. There was a silence, then a crashing amongst the interlacing vegetation, first here, then there, and then a half-dozen faces appeared, strange faces lit by a strange light. Maling made a growling noise in his throat. I recognized the ape-man. I had indeed already identified his voice, and two of the white, swathed, brown-featured creatures I had seen in Montgomery's boat. With these were the two dappled brutes and that grey, horribly crooked creature who said the law, with grey hair streaming down its cheeks, heavy grey eyebrows, and grey locks pouring off from a central parting upon its sloping forehead. A heavy, faceless thing, with strange red eyes looking at us curiously from amidst the green. For a space, no one spoke. Then Montgomery hiccuped. "Who said he was dead?" The monkey man looked guiltily at the hairy grey thing. "He is dead," said the monster. "They saw." There was nothing threatening about this detachment, at any rate. They seemed awe-stricken and puzzled. "Where is he?" said Montgomery. "Beyond," and the grey creature pointed. "Is there a lord now?" asked the monkey man. "Is it still to be this and that? Is he dead indeed?" "Is there a law?" repeated the man in white. "Is there a law, thou other thing with the whip?" "He is dead," said the hairy grey thing, and they all stood watching us. "Prendick," said Montgomery, turning his dull eyes to me. "He's dead, evidently." I had been standing behind him during this colloquy. I began to see how things lay with them. I suddenly stepped in front of Montgomery and lifted up my voice. "Children of the law," I said, "he is not dead." Maling turned his sharp eyes on me. "He has changed his shape. He has changed his body," I went on. "For a time you will not see him. He is there," I pointed upward, "where he can watch you. You cannot see him, but he can see you. Fear the law." I looked at them squarely. They flinched. "He is great, he is good," said the ape-man, peering fearfully upward amongst the dense trees. "And the other thing?" I demanded. "The thing that bled and ran screaming and sobbing, that is dead too," said the grey thing, still regarding me. "That's well," grunted Montgomery. "The other with the whip," began the grey thing. "Well," said I. "Said he was dead." But Montgomery was still sober enough to understand my motive in denying Moreau's death. "He's not dead," he said slowly. "Not dead at all. No more dead than I am." "Some," said I, "have broken the law. They will die. Some have died. Show us now where his old body lies, the body he cast away because he has no more need of it." "It is this way, man who walked in the sea," said the grey thing. And with these 6 creatures guiding us, we went through the tumult of ferns and creepers and tree stems towards the northwest. Then came a yelling, a crashing amongst the branches, and a little pink homunculus rushed by us, shrieking. Immediately after appeared a monster in headlong pursuit, blood bedabbled, who was amongst us almost before he could stop his career. The grey thing leapt aside. Maling, with a snarl, flew at it and was struck aside. Montgomery fired and missed, bowed his head, threw up his arm, and turned to run. I fired, and the thing still came on, fired again, point blank into its ugly face. I saw its features vanish in a flash. Its face was driven in. Yet it passed me, gripped Montgomery, and, holding him, fell headlong beside him and pulled him sprawling upon itself in its death agony. I found myself alone with Maling, the dead brute, and the prostrate man. Montgomery raised himself slowly and stared in a muddled way at the shattered beast-man beside him. It more than half sobered him. He scrabbled to his feet. Then I saw the grey thing returning cautiously through the trees. "See," said I, pointing to the dead brute, "is the law not alive? This came of breaking the law." He peered at the body. "He sends the fire that kills," said he in his deep voice, repeating part of the ritual. The others gathered around and stared for a space. At last we drew near the westward extremity of the island. We came upon the gnawed and mutilated body of the puma, its shoulder bones smashed by a bullet, and perhaps 20 yards further found at last what we sought. Moreau lay face downward in a trampled space in a canebrake. One hand was almost severed at the wrist, and his silvery hair was dabbled in blood. His head had been battered in by the fetters of the puma. The broken canes beneath him were smeared with blood. His revolver we could not find. Montgomery turned him over, resting at intervals, and with the help of 7 beast people, for he was a heavy man, we carried Moreau back to the enclosure. The night was darkling. Twice we heard unseen creatures howling and shrieking past our little band, and once the little pink sloth creature appeared and stared at us and vanished again. But we were not attacked again. At the gates of the enclosure, our company of beast people left us, Maling going with the rest. We locked ourselves in, and then took Moreau's mangled body into the yard and laid it upon a pile of brushwood. Then we went into the laboratory and put an end to all we found living there. 19.
Okay, so Monroe is dead. This is not really a bad thing. We have about an hour left of the book. So, I'm sitting up. We have about an hour left in the book. Monroe, from the title of the book, has died. The puma that they were, puma as they are pronouncing it, have been experimenting on for most of the book, has escaped, and that was bad. Killed Monroe. The Beastmen are like kind of hitting a rebellion, cool rebellion arc, except for Pendrick has decided to invent a new religion, so that's going well. So that's where we are currently. I fear that Montgomery is going to start drinking a lot. Why are there beast people? I was in your first 16 chapters. Okay, so TLDR, main character Pendrick crashes on this island. He discovers this guy who goes by Monroe. He's like, that name seems kind of familiar. Oh yeah, there was this guy that was banished from Britain for doing experiments on animals. Fuck. We find out that this guy was doing crazy vivisection And we think at first on people, but we discovered that it was on animals, and that makes it so much better because it's not on humans. His crazy cool vivisection is trying to turn animals into humans. Not going so well. Seems that a lot of the times they revert back into, you know, animalistic nature, but now they have hands and shit. So that's cool. We only just now discovered in, like, chapter 16 that, wait a minute, animal torture is wrong. Main character has decided, damn, I do kind of feel bad for these beastmen, even though they are really disgusting. Danger helps animal torture, yeah. Moreau, our evil Dr. Moreau, is like, the thing with him is that he's just doing it because he can, pretty much. He's like, oh, I just want to learn more because I want to learn more. And this is a direct through line with Montgomery, his assistant, being an alcoholic just because he can be. And Pendrick realizing that them following their nature as such makes them very similar to these animals that they are refusing to let follow their nature. And there's like some things to say about humans being animals and the way society, you know, is similar to the animal kingdom in such a way, blah, blah, blah. So currently, our good doctor, who is definitely not a little bit crazy, who definitely didn't stab himself in the leg to prove a point about why pain is useless for us to feel. He's dead now. So that's where we are. We're having fun. Pain is just pain entering the body. He's literally like, maybe it would be better to be a starfish and not experience pain. And we're like, dude? As God because of our protagonist. Yeah, he's literally God now. We've invented a new religion. You did miss the, like, crazed animal chanting. So, yeah. the like, beast people have to, like, suppress their urges to, like, run on four legs, drink water, you know, like, slurp water from the river, hunt things. They're supposed to not do that because then they will become animals again. And Moreau is like, it's this, the body is so easily to shape, but it's the mind that's the problem. I'm getting there though. I don't think he's getting there. You know, that's what matters. So true. Anyway, let's keep going, see how this goes.
Montgomery's bank holiday. When this was accomplished, and we had washed and eaten, Montgomery and I went into my little room and seriously discussed our position for the first time. It was then near midnight. He was almost sober, but greatly disturbed in his mind. He'd been strangely under the influence of Moreau's personality. I do not think it had ever occurred to him that Moreau could die. This disaster was the sudden collapse of the habits that had become part of his nature in the 10 or more monotonous years he had spent on the island. He talked vaguely, answered my questions crookedly, wandered into general questions. "This silly ass of a world," he said, "what a muddle it all is. I haven't had any life. I wonder when it's going to begin. 16 years being bullied by nurses and schoolmasters at their own sweet will. 5 in London grinding hard at medicine. Bad food, shabby lodgings, shabby clothes, shabby vice. A blunder, I didn't know any better, and hustled off to this beastly island. 10 years here. What's it all for, Prendick? Are we bubbles blown by a baby?" It was hard to deal with such ravings. "The thing we have to think of now," said I, "is how to get away from this island." "What's the good of getting away? I'm an outcast. Where am I to join on? It's all very well for you, Prendick. Oh, poor old Moreau. We can't leave him here to have his bones picked. As it is, and besides, what will become of the decent part of the beast folk?" "Well," said I, "that will do tomorrow. I've been thinking we might make the brushwood into a pyre and burn his body, and those other things. Then what will happen with the beast folk? I don't know. I suppose that those that were made of beasts of prey will make silly asses of themselves sooner or later. We can't massacre the lot, can we? I suppose that's what your humanity would suggest, but they'll change. They are sure to change. He talked thus inconclusively until at last I felt my temper going. "Damnation!" he exclaimed at some petulance of mine. "Can't you see I'm in a worse hole than you are?" And he got up and went for the brandy. "Drink," he said, returning. "You logic-chopping, chalky-faced saint of an atheist, drink!" "Not I," said I, and sat grimly watching his face under the yellow paraffin flare as he drank himself into a garrulous misery. I have a memory of infinite tedium. He wandered into a maudlin defence of the beast people and of Meling. Meling, he said, was the only thing that had ever really cared for him. And suddenly an idea came to him. "I'm damned," said he, staggering to his feet and clutching the brandy bottle. By some flash of intuition I knew what it was he intended. "You don't give drink to the beast," I said, raising and facing him. "Beast!" said he. "You're the beast. He takes his liquor like a Christian. Come out of the way, Prendick." "For God's sake," said I. "Get out of the way," he roared, and suddenly whipped out his revolver. "Very well," said I, and stood aside, half-minded to fall upon him as he put his hand upon the latch, but deterred by the thought of my useless arm. "You've made a beast of yourself. To the beasts you may go." He flung the doorway open and stood half-facing me between the yellow lamplight and the pallid glare of the moon. His eye sockets were blotches of black under his stubby eyebrows. "You're a solemn prig, Prendick, a silly ass. You're always fearing and fancying. We're on the edge of things. I'm bound to cut my throat tomorrow. I'm going to have a damned bank holiday tonight." He turned and went out into the moonlight. "Meling!" he cried. "Meling, old friend!" 3 dim creatures in the silvery light came along the edge of the one beach. One a white-wrapped creature, the other 2 blotches of blackness following it. They halted, staring. Then I saw Melling's hunched shoulders as he came round the corner of the house. "Drink!" cried Montgomery. "Drink, you brutes! Drink and be men! Damn, I'm the cleverest. Moreau forgot this. This is the last touch. Drink, I tell you!" And waving the bottle in his hand, he started off at a kind of quick trot to the westward, Meling ranging himself between him and the 3 dim creatures who followed. I went to the doorway. They were already indistinct in the mist of the moonlight before Montgomery halted. I saw him administer a dose of the raw brandy to Meling and saw the 5 figures melt into one vague patch. "Sing!" I heard Montgomery shout. "Sing all together! Confound old Prendick! That's right, now again! Confound old Prendick!" The black group broke up into 5 separate figures and wound slowly away from me along the band of shining beach. Each went howling at his own sweet will, yelping insults at me or giving whatever other vent this new inspiration of brandy demanded. Presently I heard Montgomery's voice shouting, "Right turn!" and they passed with their shouts and howls into the blackness of the landward trees. Slowly, very slowly, they receded into silence. The peaceful splendor of the night healed again. The moon was now past the meridian and travelling down the west. It was at its full and very bright, riding through the empty blue sky. The shadow of the wall lay a yard wide and of inky blackness at my feet. The eastward sea was a featureless grey, dark and mysterious, and between the sea and the shadow the great sands of volcanic glass and crystals flashed and shone like a beach of diamonds. Behind me the paraffin lamp flared hot and ruddy. Then I shut the door, locked it, and went into the enclosure where Moreau lay beside his latest victims, the staghounds and the llama and some other wretched brutes, with his massive face calm even after his terrible death, and with the hard eyes open, staring at the dead white moon above. I sat down upon the edge of the sink, and with my eyes upon that ghastly pile of silvery light and ominous shadows, began to turn over my plans. In the morning, I would gather some provisions in the dinghy, and, after setting fire to the pyre before me, push out into the desolation of the high sea once more. I felt that for Montgomery there was no help, that he was, in truth, half akin to these beast folk, unfitted for human kindred. I do not know how long I sat there scheming. It must have been an hour or so. Then my planning was interrupted by the return of Montgomery to my neighborhood. I heard a yelling from many throats, a tumult of exultant cries passing down towards the beach, whooping and howling and excited shrieks that seemed to come to a stop near the water's edge. The riot rose and fell. I heard heavy blows and the splintering smash of wood, but it did not trouble me then. A discordant chanting began. My thoughts went back to my means of escape. I got up, brought the lamp, and went into a shed to look at some kegs I had seen there. Then I became interested in the contents of some biscuit tins and opened one. I saw something out of the tail of my eye, a red figure, and turned sharply. Behind me lay the yard, vividly black and white in the moonlight, and the pile of wood and faggots on which Moreau and his mutilated victims lay, one over another. They seemed to be gripping one another in one last revengeful grapple. His wounds gaped, black as night, and the blood that had dripped lay in black patches upon the sand. Then I saw, without understanding, the cause of my phantom, a ruddy glow that came and danced and went upon the wall opposite. I misinterpreted this, fancied it was a reflection of my flickering lamp, and turned again to the stores in the shed. I went on rummaging amongst them, as well as a one-armed man could, finding this convenient thing and that, and putting them aside for tomorrow's launch. My movements were slow, and the time passed quickly. Insensibly, the daylight crept upon me. The chanting died down, giving place to a clamour. Then it began again, and suddenly broke into a tumult. I heard cries of "More! More!" a sound like quarrelling, and a sudden wild shriek. The quality of the sounds changed so greatly that it arrested my attention. I went out into the yard and listened. Then, cutting like a knife across the confusion, came the crack of a revolver. I rushed at once through my door to the little doorway. As I did so, I heard some of the packing cases behind me go sliding down and smash together with a clatter of glass on the floor of the shed, but I did not heed these. I flung the door open and looked out. Up the beach, by the boathouse, a bonfire was burning, raining up sparks into the indistinctness of the dawn. Around this struggled a mass of black figures. I heard Montgomery call my name. I began to run at once towards this fire, revolver in hand. I saw the pink tongue of Montgomery's pistol lick out once close to the ground. He was down. I shouted with all my strength and fired into the air. I heard someone cry, "The master!" The knotted black struggle broke into scattering units. The fire leapt and sank down. The crowd of beast people fled in sudden panic before me up the beach. In my excitement, I fired at their retreating backs as they disappeared among the bushes. Then I turned to the black heaps upon the ground. Montgomery lay on his back, with the hairy grey beast-man sprawling across his body. The brute was dead, but still gripping Montgomery's throat with its curving claws. Nearby lay Maling on his face, and quite still, his neck bitten open and the upper part of the smashed brandy bottle in his hand. 2 other figures lay near the fire, the one motionless, the other groaning fitfully, every now and then raising its head slowly, then dropping it again. I caught hold of the grey man and pulled him off Montgomery's body. His claws drew down the torn coat reluctantly as I dragged him away. Montgomery was dark in the face and scarcely breathing. I splashed seawater on his face and pillowed his head on my rolled-up coat. Meling was dead. The wounded creature by the fire, it was a wolf brute by the bearded grey face, lay, I found, with the fore part of its body upon the still glowing timber. The wretched thing was injured so dreadfully that, in mercy, I blew its brains out at once. The other brute was one of the bullmen swathed in white. He, too, was dead. The rest of the beast people had vanished from the beach. I went to Montgomery again and knelt beside him, cursing my ignorance of medicine. The fire beside me had shrunk down, and only charred beams of timber glowing at the central ends and mixed with the grey ash of brushwood remained. I wondered, casually, where Montgomery had got his wood. Then I saw that the dawn was upon us. The sky had grown brighter, the setting moon was becoming pale and opaque in the luminous blue of the day. The sky to the eastward was rimmed with red. Suddenly I heard a thud and a hissing behind me, and looking around, sprang to my feet with a cry of horror. Against the warm dawn, great tumultuous masses of black smoke were boiling up out of the enclosure, and through their stormy darkness shot flickering threads of blood-red flame. Then the thatched roof caught. I saw the curving charges of the flames across the sloping straw. A spurt of fire jetted from the window of my room. I knew at once what had happened. I remembered the crash I had heard. When I had rushed out to Montgomery's assistance, I had overturned the lamp. The hopelessness of saving any of the contents of the enclosure stared me in the face. My mind came back to my plans of flight, and turning swiftly, I looked to see where the 2 boats lay upon the beach. They were gone. 2 axes lay upon the sands beside me. Chips and splinters were scattered broadcast, and the ashes of the bonfire were blackening and smoking under the dawn. Montgomery had burnt the boats to revenge himself upon me and prevent our return to mankind. A sudden convulsion of rage shook me. I was almost moved to batter his foolish head in as he lay there helpless at my feet. Then suddenly his hand moved so feebly, so pitifully, that my wrath vanished. He groaned and opened his eyes for a minute. I knelt down beside him and raised his head. He opened his eyes again, staring silently at the dawn, and then they met mine. The lids fell. "Sorry," he said presently with an effort. He seemed trying to think. "The last," he murmured, "the last of this silly universe. What a mess." I listened. His head fell helplessly to one side. I thought some drink might revive him, but there was neither drink nor vessel in which to bring drink at hand. He seemed suddenly heavier. My heart went cold. I bent down to his face, put my hand through the rent in his blouse. He was dead. And even as he died, a line of white heat, the limb of the sun, rose eastward beyond the projection of the bay, splashing its radiance across the sky and turning the dark sea into a weltering tumult of dazzling light. It fell like a glory upon his death-shrunken face. I let his head fall gently upon the rough pillow I had made for him, and stood up. Before me was the glittering desolation of the sea, the awful solitude upon which I had already suffered so much. Behind me the island, hushed under the dawn, its beast people silent and unseen. The enclosure, with all its provisions and ammunition, burnt noisily, with sudden gusts of flame, a fitful crackling, and now and then a crash. The heavy smoke drove up the beach away from me, rolling low over the distant treetops towards the huts in the ravine. Beside me were the charred vestiges of the boats and these 5 dead bodies. Then, out of the bushes, came 3 beast people with hunched shoulders, protruding heads, misshapen hands awkwardly held, and inquisitive, unfriendly eyes, and advanced towards me with hesitating gestures. 20. Alone with the beast folk. I faced these people, facing my fate in them, single-handed now, literally single-handed, for I had a broken arm. In my pocket was a revolver with 2 empty chambers. Among the chips scattered about the beach lay the 2 axes that had been used to chop up the boats. The tide was creeping in behind me. There was nothing for it but courage. I looked squarely into the faces of the advancing monsters. They avoided my eyes, and their quivering nostrils investigated the bodies that lay beyond me on the beach. I took a 6 steps, picked up the blood-stained whip that lay beneath the body of the wolfman, and cracked it. They stomped and stared at me. "Salute," said I. "Bow down." They hesitated. One bent his knees. I repeated my command, with my heart in my mouth, and advanced upon them. One knelt, then the other too. I turned and walked towards the dead bodies, keeping my face towards the 3 kneeling beast men, very much as an actor passing up the stage faces the audience. "They broke the law," said I, putting my foot on the sayer of the law. "They have been slain. Even the sayer of the law, even the other with the whip. Great is the law, come and see." "None escape," said one of them, advancing and peering. "None escape," said I. "Therefore hear and do as I command." They stood up, looking questioningly at one another. "Stand there," said I. I picked up the hatchets and swung them by their heads from the sling of my arm, turned Montgomery over, picked up his revolver, still loaded in 2 chambers, and bending down to rummage, found 6 cartridges in his pocket. "Take him," said I, standing up again and pointing with the whip. "Take him and carry him out and cast him into the sea." They came forward, evidently still afraid of Montgomery, but still more afraid of my cracking red whiplash, and after some fumbling and hesitation, some whip cracking and shouting, they lifted him gingerly, carried him down to the beach, and went splashing into the dazzling welter of the sea. "On," said I, "on, carry him far." They went in up to their armpits and stood regarding me. "Let go," said I, and the body of Montgomery vanished with a splash. Something seemed to tighten across my chest. "Good," said I, with a break in my voice, and they came back, hurrying and fearful, to the margin of the water, leaving long wakes of black in the silver. At the water's edge they stopped, turning and glaring into the sea, as though they presently expected Montgomery to arise therefrom and exact vengeance. "Now these," said I, pointing to the other bodies. They took care not to approach the place where they had thrown Montgomery into the water, but instead carried the 4 dead beast people slantingly along the beach for perhaps 100 yards before they waded out and cast them away. As I watched them disposing of the mangled remains of Meling, I heard a light footfall behind me, and, turning quickly, saw the big hyena swine perhaps 12 yards away. His head was bent down, his bright eyes were fixed upon me, his stumpy hands clenched and held close by his side. He stood in this crouching attitude when I turned, his eyes a little averted. For a moment we stood eye to eye. I dropped the whip and snatched at the pistol in my pocket, for I meant to kill this brute, the most formidable of any left now upon the island, at the first excuse. It may seem treacherous, but so I was resolved. I was far more afraid of him than of any other two of the beast folk. His continued life was, I knew, a threat against mine. I was perhaps a dozen seconds collecting myself. Then cried I, "Salute! Bow down!" His teeth flashed upon me in a snarl. "Who are you that I should—" Perhaps a little too spasmodically, I drew my revolver, aimed quickly, and fired. I heard him yelp, saw him run sideways and turn, knew I had missed, and clicked back the cock with my thumb for the next shot. But he was already running headlong, jumping from side to side, and I dared not risk another miss. Every now and then he looked back at me over his shoulder. He went slanting across the beach and vanished beneath the driving masses of dense smoke that were still pouring out from the burning enclosure. For some time I stood staring after him. I turned to my 3 obedient beast folk again and signalled them to drop the body they still carried. Then I went back to the place by the fire where the bodies had fallen and kicked the sand until all the brown bloodstains were absorbed and hidden. I dismissed my 3 serfs with a wave of the hand and went up the beach into the thickets. I carried my pistol in my hand, my whip thrust with the hatchets in the sling of my arm. I was anxious to be alone, to think out the position in which I was now placed. A dreadful thing that I was only beginning to realize was that over all this island there was now no safe place where I could be alone and secure to rest or sleep. I had recovered strength amazingly since my landing, but I was still inclined to be nervous and to break down under any great stress. I felt that I ought to cross the island and establish myself with the beast people and make myself secure in their confidence, but my heart failed me. I went back to the beach, and turning eastward past the burning enclosure, made for a point where a shallow spit of coral sand ran out towards the reef. Here I could sit down and think, my back to the sea and my face against any surprise. And there I sat, chin on knees, the sun beating down upon my head, and unspeakable dread in my mind, plotting how I could live on against the hour of my rescue, if ever rescue came. I tried to review the whole situation as calmly as I could, but it was difficult to clear the thing of emotion. I began turning over in my mind the reason of Montgomery's despair. "They will change," he said. "They are sure to change." And Moreau, what was it that Moreau had said? "The stubborn beast flesh grows day by day back again." And then I came round to the hyena swine. I felt sure that if I did not kill that brute, he would kill me. The sayer of the law was dead, worse luck. They knew now that we of the whips could be killed even as they themselves were killed. Were they peering at me already out of the green masses of ferns and palms over yonder, watching until I came within their spring? Were they plotting against me? What was the hyena swine telling them? My imagination was running away with me in a morass of insubstantial fears. My thoughts were disturbed by a crying of seabirds hurrying towards some black object that had been stranded by the waves on the beach near the enclosure. I knew what the object was, but I had not the heart to go back and drive them off. I began walking along the beach in the opposite direction, designing to come round the eastward corner of the island and so approach the ravine of the huts without traversing the possible ambuscades of the thickets. Perhaps half a mile along the beach, I became aware of one of my 3 beast folk advancing out of the landward bushes towards me. I was now so nervous with my own imaginings that I immediately drew my revolver. Even the proprietary gesture of the creatures failed to disarm me. He hesitated as he approached. "Go away!" I cried. There was something very suggestive of a dog in the cringing attitude of the creature. It retreated a little way, very like a dog being sent home, and stopped, looking at me imploringly with canine brown eyes. "Go away," said I. "Do not come near me." "May I not come near you?" it said. "No, go away," I insisted, and snapped my whip. Then, putting my whip in my teeth, I stooped for a stone, and with that threat drove the creature away. So, in solitude, I came round by the ravine of the beast people, and hiding amongst the weeds and reeds that separated this crevasse from the sea, I watched such of them as appeared, trying to judge from their gestures and appearance how the death of Moreau and Montgomery and the destruction of the House of Pain had affected them. I know now the folly of my cowardice. Had I kept my courage up to the level of the dawn, had I not allowed it to ebb away in solitary thought, I might have grasped the vacant sceptre of Moreau and ruled over the beast people. As it was, I lost the opportunity and sank to the position of a mere leader among my fellows. Towards noon, certain of them came and squatted, basking in the hot sand. The imperious voices of hunger and thirst prevailed over my dread. I came out of the bushes and, revolver in hand, walked down towards these seated figures. One, a wolf woman, turned her head and stared at me, and then the others. None attempted to rise or salute me. I felt too faint and weary to insist, and I let the moment pass. "I want food," said I, almost apologetically, and drawing near. "There is food in the huts," said an ox-boar man drowsily, and looking away from me. I passed them and went down into the shadow and odours of the almost deserted ravine. In an empty hut I feasted on some specked and half-decayed fruit, and then, after I had propped some branches and sticks about the opening, and placed myself with my face towards it and my hand upon my revolver, the exhaustion of the last 30 hours claimed its own, and I fell into a light slumber, hoping that the flimsy barricade I had erected would cause sufficient noise in its removal to save me from surprise. 21. The Reversion of the Beast Folk. In this way I became one amongst the beast people in the island of Dr. Moreau. When I awoke, it was dark about me. My arm ached in its bandages. I sat up, wondering at first where I might be. I heard coarse voices talking outside. Then I saw that my barricade had gone, and that the opening of the hut stood clear. My revolver was still in my hand. I heard something breathing, saw something crouched together close beside me. I held my breath, trying to see what it was. It began to move slowly, interminably. Then something soft and warm and moist passed across my hand. All of my muscles contracted. I snatched my hand away. A cry of alarm began and was stifled in my throat. Then I just realized what had happened sufficiently to stay my fingers on the revolver. "Who is that?" I said in a hoarse whisper, the revolver still pointed. "I, master." "Who are you?" "They say there is no master now, but I know. I carried the bodies into the sea, O walker in the sea. The bodies of those you slew. I am your slave, master." "Are you the one I met on the beach?" I asked. "The same, master." The thing was evidently faithful enough, for it might have fallen upon me as I slept. "It is well," I said, extending my hand for another licking kiss. I began to realize what its presence meant, and the tide of my courage flowed. "Where are the others?" I asked. "They are mad, they are fools," said the dogman. "Even now they talk together beyond there. They say, 'The master is dead. The other with the whip is dead. The other who walked in the sea is as we are. We have no master, no whips, no house of pain any more. There is an end. We love the law and will keep it, but there is no pain, no master, no whips forever again. So they say, but I know, master, I know." I felt in the darkness and patted the dogman's head. "It is well," I said again. "Presently you will slay them all," said the dogman. "Presently," I answered. "I will slay them all, after certain days and certain things have come to pass. Every one of them, save those you spare, every one of them shall be slain." "What the master wishes to kill, the master kills," said the dogman, with a certain satisfaction in his voice. "And that their sins may grow," I said. "Let them live in their folly until their time is ripe. Let them not know that I am the master." "The master's will is sweet," said the dogman, with the ready tact of his canine blood. "But one has sinned," said I. "Him I will kill whenever I may meet him. When I say to you, 'That is he,' see that you fall upon him. And now I will go to the men and women who are assembled together." For a moment the opening of the hut was blackened by the exit of the dogman. Then I followed and stood up, almost in the exact spot where I had been when I had heard Moreau and his staghound pursuing me. But now it was night, and all the miasmatic ravine around me was black, and beyond, instead of a green sunlit slope, I saw a red fire, before which hunched grotesque figures moving to and fro. Farther were the thick trees, a bank of darkness, fringed above with the black lace of the upper branches. The moon was just riding up on the edge of the ravine, and like a bar across its face drove the spire of vapour that was forever streaming from the fumaroles of the island. "Walk by me," said I, nerving myself, and side by side we walked down the narrow way, taking little heed of the dim things that peered at us out of the huts. None about the fire attempted to salute me. Most of them disregarded me ostentatiously. I looked round for the hyena swine, but he was not there. Altogether, perhaps 20 of the beast folk squatted, staring into the fire or talking to one another. "He is dead, he is dead, the master is dead," said the voice of the ape-man to the right of me. "The house of pain, there is no house of pain." "He is not dead," said I in a loud voice. "Even now he watches us." This startled them. 20 pairs of eyes regarded me. "The house of pain is gone," said I. "It will come again. The master you cannot see, yet even now he listens among you." "True, true," said the dogman. They were staggered at my assurance. An animal may be ferocious and cunning enough, but it takes a real man to tell a lie. "The man with the bandaged arm speaks a strange thing," said one of the beast folk. "I tell you it is so," I said. "The master in the house of pain will come again. Woe be to him who breaks the law." They looked curiously at one another. With an affectation of indifference, I began to chop idly at the ground in front of me with my hatchet. They looked, I noticed, at the deep cuts I made in the turf. Then the satyr raised a doubt. I answered him. Then one of the dappled things objected, and an animated discussion sprang up round the fire. Every moment I began to feel more convinced of my present security. I talked now without the catching in my breath due to the intensity of my excitement that had troubled me at first. In the course of about an hour I had really convinced several of the beast folk of the truth of my assertions, and talked most of the others into a dubious state. I kept a sharp eye for my enemy the hyena swine, but he never appeared. Every now and then a suspicious movement would startle me, but my confidence grew rapidly. Then, as the moon crept down from the zenith, one by one the listeners began to yawn, showing the oddest teeth in the light of the sinking fire, and first one and then another retired towards the dens in the ravine, and I, dreading the silence and darkness, went with them, knowing I was safer with several of them than with one alone. In this manner began the longer part of my sojourn upon the island of Dr. Moreau. But from that night until the end came, there was but one thing happened to tell, save a series of innumerable small unpleasant details and the fretting of an incessant uneasiness. So that I prefer to make no chronicle for that gap of time, to tell only one cardinal incident of the 10 months I spent as an intimate of these half-humanized brutes. There is much that sticks in my memory that I could write, things that I would cheerfully give my right hand to forget, but they do not help the telling of the story. In the retrospect, it is strange to remember how soon I fell in with these monsters' ways and gained my confidence again. I had my quarrels with them, of course, and could show some of the teeth marks still, but they soon gained a wholesome respect for my trick of throwing stones and for the bite of my hatchet. And my St. Bernard's man loyalty was of infinite service to me. I found their simple scale of honour was based mainly on the capacity for inflicting trenchant wounds. Indeed, I may say, without vanity, I hope, that I held something like preeminence among them. One or two, whom in a rare access of high spirits I had scarred rather badly, bore me a grudge, but it vented itself chiefly behind my back and at a safe distance from my missiles, in grimaces. The hyena swine avoided me, and I was always on the alert for him. My inseparable dogman hated and dreaded him intensely. I really believe that was at the root of the brute's attachment to me. It was soon evident to me that the former monster had tasted blood and gone the way of the leopard man. He formed a lair somewhere in the forest and became solitary. Once I had tried to induce the beast folk to hunt him, but I lacked the authority to make them cooperate for one end. Again and again I tried to approach his den and come upon him unaware, but always he was too acute for me, and saw or winded me and got away. He, too, made every forest pathway dangerous to me and my ally with his lurking ambuscades. The dogman scarcely dared to leave my side. In the first month or so, the beast folk, compared with their latter condition, were human enough, and for one or two besides my canine friend, I even conceived a friendly tolerance. The little pink sloth creature displayed an odd affection for me, and took to following me around. The monkey man bored me, however. He assumed, on the strength of his 5 digits, that he was my equal and was forever jabbering at me, jabbering the most arrant nonsense. One thing about him entertained me a little. He had a fantastic trick of coining new words. He had an idea, I believe, that to gabble about names that meant nothing was the proper use of speech. He called it big thinks to distinguish it from the little thinks, the sane, everyday interests of life. If ever I made a remark he did not understand, he would praise it very much, ask me to say it again, learn it by heart, and go off repeating it with a word wrong here or there to all the milder of the beast people. He thought nothing of what was plain and comprehensible. I invented some very curious big thinks for his especial use. I think now that he was the silliest creature I ever met. He had developed in the most wonderful way the distinctive silliness of man without losing one jot of the natural folly of a monkey. This, I say, was in the earlier weeks of my solitude amongst these brutes. During that time they respected the usage established by the law and behaved with general decorum. Once I found another rabbit torn to pieces by the hyena swine, I am assured, but that was all. It was about May when I first distinctly perceived a growing difference in their speech and carriage, a growing coarseness of articulation, a growing disinclination to talk. My monkey man's jabber multiplied in volume, but grew less and less comprehensible, more and more simian. Some of the others seemed altogether slipping their hold upon speech, although they still understood what I said to them at that time. Can you imagine language, once clear-cut and exact, softening and guttering, losing shape and import, becoming mere lumps of sound again? And they walked erect, with increasing difficulty. Though they evidently felt ashamed of themselves, every now and then I would come upon one or another running on toes and fingertips and quite unable to recover the vertical attitude. They held things more clumsily, drinking by suction, feeding by gnawing, grew commoner every day. I realized more keenly than ever what Moreau had told me about the stubborn beast flesh. They were reverting, and reverting very rapidly. Some of them, the pioneers in this, I noticed with some surprise, were all females. began to disregard the injunction of decency, deliberately for the most part. Others even attempted public outrages upon the institution of monogamy. The tradition of the law was clearly losing its force. I cannot pursue this disagreeable subject. My dogman imperceptibly slipped back to the dog again. Day by day he became dumb, quadrupedal, and hairy. I scarcely noticed the transition from the companion on my right hand to the lurching dog at my side. As the carelessness and disorganization increased from day to day, the lane of dwelling places, at no time very sweet, became so loathsome that I left it, and going across the island made myself a hovel of boughs amid the black ruins of Moreau's enclosure. Some memory of pain, I found, still made that place safest from the beast folk. It would be impossible to detail every step of the lapsing of these monsters, to tell how day by day the human semblance left them, how they gave up bandagings and wrappings, abandoned at last every stitch of clothing, how the hair began to spread over the exposed limbs, how their foreheads fell away and their faces projected, how the quasi-human intimacy I had permitted myself with some of them in the first months of my loneliness became a shuddering horror to recall. The change was slow and inevitable. For them and for me, it came without any definite shock. I still went among them in safely, because no jolt in the downward glide had released the increasing charge of explosive animalism that ousted the human day by day. But I began to fear that soon now that shock must come. My St. Bernard brute followed me to the enclosure every night, and his vigilance enabled me to sleep at times in something like peace. The little pink sloth thing became shy, and left me to crawl back to its natural life once more among the tree branches. We were in just the state of equilibrium that would remain if one of those happy family cages which animal tamers exhibit, if the tamer were to leave it forever. Of course, these creatures did not decline into such beasts as the reader had seen in zoological gardens, into ordinary bears, wolves, tigers, oxen, swine, and apes. There was something strange about each. In each, Moreau had blended this animal with that. One perhaps was ursine chiefly, another feline chiefly, another bovine chiefly, but each was tainted with another creature. A kind of generalized animalism appeared through the specific dispositions, and the dwindling shreds of the humanity still startled me every now and then. A momentary recrudescence of speech, perhaps, an unexpected dexterity of the forefeet, a pitiful attempt to walk erect. I, too, must have undergone strange changes. My clothes hung about me as yellow rags, through whose rents showed the tanned skin. My hair grew long and became matted together. I am told that even now my eyes have a strange brightness, a swift alertness of movement. At first I spent the daylight hours on the southward beach, watching for a ship, hoping and praying for a ship. I counted on the Ipecacuanha returning as the year wore on, but she never came. 5 times I saw sails and thrice smoke, but nothing ever touched the island. I always had a bonfire ready, but no doubt the volcanic reputation of the island was taken to account for that. It was only about September or October that I began to think of making a raft. By that time my arm had healed, and both my hands were at my service again. At first I found my helplessness appalling. I had never done any carpentry or such-like work in my life, and I spent day after day in experimental chopping and binding among the trees. I had no ropes, and could hit on nothing wherewith to make ropes. None of the abundant creepers seemed limber or strong enough, and with all my litter of scientific education I could not devise any way of making them so. I spent more than a fortnight grubbing among the black ruins of the enclosure and on the beach where the boats had been burnt, looking for nails and other stray pieces of metal that might prove of service. Now and then some beast creature would watch me and go leaping off when I called to it. There came a season of thunderstorms and heavy rain, which greatly retarded my work, but at last the raft was completed. I was delighted with it, but with a certain lack of practical sense which has always been my bane, I had made it a mile or more from the beach, and before I dragged it down to the beach the thing had fallen to pieces. Perhaps it is as well that I was saved from launching it, but at the time my misery at my failure was so acute that for some days I simply moped on the beach and stared at the water and thought of death. I did not, however, mean to die, and an incident occurred that warned me unmistakably of the folly of letting the days pass so, for each fresh day was fraught with increasing danger from the beast people. I was lying in the shade of the enclosure wall, staring out to sea, when I was startled by something cold touching the skin of my heel, and startling round, found the little pink sloth creature blinking into my face. He had long since lost speech and active movement, and the lank hair of the little brute grew thicker every day, and his stumpy claws more askew. He made a moaning noise when he saw he had attracted my attention, went a little way towards the bushes, and looked back at me. At first I did not understand, but presently it occurred to me that he wished me to follow him, and this I did at last, slowly, for the day was hot. When we reached the trees, he clambered into them, for he could travel better amongst their swinging creepers than on the ground, and suddenly, in a trampled space, I came upon a ghastly group. My Saint Bernard creature lay on the ground, dead, and near his body crouched the hyena swine, gripping at the quivering flesh with its misshapen claws, gnawing at it and snarling with delight. As I approached, the monster lifted its glaring eyes to mine, its lips went trembling back from its red-stained teeth, and it growled menacingly. It was not afraid and not ashamed. The last vestige of the human taint had vanished. I advanced a step farther, stopped, and pulled out my revolver. At last I had him face to face. The brute made no sign of retreat, but its ears went back, its hair bristled, and its body crouched together. I aimed between the eyes and fired. As I did so, the thing rose straight at me in a leap, and I was knocked over like a ninepin. It clutched at me with its crippled hand and struck me in the face. Its spring carried it over me. I fell under the hind part of its body, but, luckily, I had hit as I meant, and it had died even as it leapt. I crawled out from under its unclean weight and stood up trembling, staring at its quivering body. That danger, at least, was over. But this, I knew, was only the first of the series of relapses that must come. I burnt both of the bodies on a pyre of brushwood, but after that I saw that unless I left the island, my death was only a question of time. The beast people by that time had, with one or two exceptions, left the ravine and made themselves lairs according to their taste amongst the thickets of the island. Few prowled by day, most of them slept, and the island might have seemed deserted to a newcomer. But at night the air was hideous with their calls and howling. I had half a mind to make a massacre of them, to build traps or fight them with my knife. Had I possessed sufficient cartridges, I should not have hesitated to begin the killing. There could now be scarcely a score left of the dangerous carnivores. The braver of these were already dead. After the death of this poor dog of mine, my last friend, I too adopted to some extent the practice of slumbering in the daytime in order to be on my guard at night. I rebuilt my den in the walls of the enclosure with such a narrow opening that anything attempting to enter must necessarily make a considerable noise. The creatures had lost the art of fire, too, and recovered their fear of it. I turned once more, almost passionately now, to hammering together stakes and branches to form a raft for my escape. I found 1,000 difficulties. I am an extremely unhandy man. My schooling was over before the days of Slaunched.
but most of the requirements of a raft I met at last in some clumsy, circuitous way or another, and this time I took care of the strength. The only insurmountable obstacle was that I had no vessel to contain the water I should need if I floated forth upon these untravelled seas. I would have even tried pottery, but the island contained no clay. I used to go moping about the island, trying with all my might to solve this one last difficulty. Sometimes I would give way to wild outbursts of rage and hack and splinter some unlucky tree in my intolerable vexation. But I could think of nothing. And then came a day, a wonderful day, which I spent in ecstasy. I saw a sail to the southwest, a small sail like that of a little schooner, and forthwith I lit a great pile of brushwood and stood by it in the heat of it and the heat of the midday sun, watching. All day I watched that sail, eating or drinking nothing, so that my head reeled, and the beasts came and glared at me and seemed to wonder, and went away. It was still distant when the night came and swallowed it up, and all night I toiled to keep my blaze bright and high, and the eyes of the beasts shone out of the darkness, marvelling. In the dawn the sail was nearer, and I saw it was the dirty lug sail of a small boat, but it sailed strangely. My eyes were weary with watching, and I peered and could not believe them. 2 men were in the boat, sitting low down, one by the bows and the other at the rudder. The head was not kept to the wind. It yawed and fell away. As the day grew brighter, I began waving the last rag of my jacket to them, but they did not notice me, and sat still, facing each other. I went to the lowest point of the low headland and gesticulated and shouted. There was no response, and the boat kept on her aimless course, making slowly, very slowly, for the bay. Suddenly, a great white bird flew up out of the boat, and neither of the men stirred nor noticed it. It circled round and then came sweeping overhead with its strong wings outspread. Then I stopped shouting and sat down on the headland and rested my chin on my hands and stared. Slowly, the boat drove past towards the west. I would have swum out to it, but something, a cold, vague fear, kept me back. In the afternoon, the tide stranded the boat and left it 100 yards or so to the westward of the ruins of the enclosure. The men in it were dead. They had been dead so long that they fell to pieces when I tilted the boat on its side and dragged them out. One had a shock of red hair like the captain of the Prt2, and the dirty white cap lay in the bottom of the boat. As I stood beside the boat, 3 of the beasts came slinking out of the bushes and sniffing towards me. One of my spasms of disgust came upon me. I thrust the little boat down the beach and clambered on board her. 2 of the brutes were wolf beasts and came forward with quivering nostrils and glittering eyes. The third was the horrible nondescript of bear and bull. When I saw them approaching those wretched remains, heard them snarling at one another and caught the gleam of their teeth, a frantic horror succeeded my repulsion. I turned my back upon them, struck the lug, and began paddling out to sea. I could not bring myself to look behind me. I lay, however, between the reef and the island that night, and the next morning went round to the stream and filled the empty keg aboard with water. Then, with such patience as I could command, I collected a quantity of fruit and waylaid and killed 2 rabbits with my last 3 cartridges. While I was doing this, I left the boat moored to an inland projection of the reef for fear of the beast people.
22. The Man Alone.
Okay, last chapter, both a lot of things has happened and also not a lot of things. We're on our last chapter. All of the humans on my island are dead. Bro has been surviving on this island for 10 months. all of the animal people are like reverting. But they're not reverting to normal animals because Moreau was like, we're gonna splice together a bunch of animals. So now they're like some fucked up chimera island. You know, as one does. So that's what we're dealing with. We tried to build a raft. Raft collapsed. We built another raft. They were like, shit, we gotta be able to carry water or we're doomed. And we found a dinghy, sort of. Come around, some dead guys on there. Surely, this bodes well for us. We're much different than them, you see. Where I was born, by the way. So true. Rip random sailors. Rip, guys. We're all... I'm dying. We're also at the 2-hour mark, so we're gonna do some stretches. Bye! Make sure you guys stretch. Yeah. Big sad, our dog boy died because of the hyena thing. What's up, chat? Hey, we're on the last chapter. We're almost done with the book. We're stretching because it's the 2-hour mark. After we finish the book, I'll probably do a little more doodles, and then end stream. I don't think I'll go past 3 hours. Big stuff, big day. But yes, 2-hour mark, make sure you stretch. If you're drawing or playing video games, stretch your wrists. Be sure to stretch your back for sure. Drink some water, take any medicine that you haven't. All that good stuff. Ooh. I'm going to get back to the book. Let's finish the book. One more chapter.
In the evening, I started and drove out to sea before a gentle wind from the southwest, slowly, steadily, and the island grew smaller and smaller, and the lank spire of smoke dwindled to a finer and finer line against the hot sunset. The ocean rose around me, hiding that low, dark patch from my eyes. The daylight, the trailing glory of the sun, went streaming out of the sky, was drawn aside like some luminous curtain, and at last I looked into the blue gulf of immensity which the sunshine hides, and saw the floating hosts of the stars. The sea was silent. The sky was silent. I was alone with the night and silence. So I drifted for 3 days, eating and drinking sparingly, and meditating upon all that had happened to me, not desiring very greatly then to see men again. One unclean rag was about me, my hair a black tangle. No doubt my discoverers thought me a madman. It is strange, but I felt no desire to return to mankind. I was only glad to be quit of the foulness of the beast people. And on the 3rd day, I was picked up by a brig from a pier to San Francisco. Neither the captain nor the mate would believe my story, judging that solitude and danger had made me mad, and fearing their opinion might be that of others, I refrained from telling my adventure further, and professed to recall nothing that had happened to me between the loss of the Lady Vane and the time when I was picked up again, the space of a year. I had to act with the utmost circumspection to save myself from the suspicion of insanity. My memory of the law, of the 2 dead sailors, of the ambuscades, of the darkness of the body in the canebrake haunted me, and unnatural as it seems, with my return to mankind came, instead of that confidence and sympathy I had expected, a strange enhancement of the uncertainty and dread I had experienced during my stay upon the island. No one would believe me. I was almost as queer to men as I had been to the beast people. I may have caught something of the natural wildness of my companions. They say that terror is a disease, and anyhow I can witness that for several years now a restless fear has dwelt in my mind, such a restless fear as a half-tamed lion cub may feel. My trouble took the strangest form. I could not persuade myself that the men and women I'd met were not also another beast people, animals half wrought into the outward image of human souls, and that they would presently begin to revert, to show first this bestial mark and then that. But I have confided my case to a strangely able man, a man who had known Moreau, and seemed half to credit my story, a mental specialist, and he has helped me mightily, though I do not expect that terror of the island will ever altogether leave me. At most times it lies far in the back of my mind, a mere distant cloud, a memory and a faint distrust, but there are times when the little cloud spreads until it obscures the whole sky. Then I look about me at my fellow men, and I go in fear. I see faces keen and bright, others dull or dangerous, others unsteady, insincere, none that have the calm authority of a reasonable soul. I felt as though the animal was surging up through them, and that presently the degradation of the islanders will be played over again on a larger scale. I know this is an illusion, that these seeming men and women about me are indeed men and women forever, perfectly reasonable creatures, full of human desires and tender solicitude, emancipated from instinct and the slaves of no fantastic law, beings altogether different from the beast folk, yet I shrink from them, from their curious glances, their inquiries and assistance, and long to be away from them and alone. For that reason, I live near the broad, free downland, and can escape thither when this shadow is over my soul. And very sweet is the empty downland then, under the wind-swept sky. When I lived in London, the horror was well nigh insupportable. I could not get away from men. Their voices came through windows. Locked doors were flimsy safeguards. I would go out into the streets to fight with my delusion, and prowling women would mew after me. Furtive, craving men glanced jealously at me. Weary, pale workers go coughing by me with tired eyes and eager paces, like wounded deer dripping blood. Old people, bent and dull, pass, murmuring to themselves, and all unheeding a ragged tale of gibbering children. Then I would turn aside into some chapel, and even there, such was my disturbance, it seemed that the preacher gibbered big thinks even as the ape-man had done, or into some library, and there the intent faces over the books seemed but patient creatures waiting for prey. Particularly nauseous were the blank, expressionless faces of people in trains and omnibuses. They seemed no more my fellow creatures than dead bodies would be, so that I did not dare to travel unless I was assured of being alone. And even it seemed that I, too, was not a reasonable creature, but only an animal tormented with some strange disorder in its brain which sent it to wander alone like a sheep stricken with gid. And this is a mood, however, that comes to me now, I thank God, more rarely. I have withdrawn myself from the confusion of cities and multitudes, and spend my days surrounded by wise books, bright windows in this life of ours, lit by the shining souls of men. I see few strangers, and have but a small household. My days I devote to reading and to experiments in chemistry, and I spend many of the clear nights in the study of astronomy. There is, though I don't know how there is or why there is, a sense of infinite peace and protection in the glittering hosts of heaven. There it must be, I think, in the vast and eternal laws of matter, and not in the daily cares and sins and troubles of men, that whatever is more than animal within us must find its solace and its hope. I hope, or I could not live. And so, in hope and solitude, my story ends. Edward Prendick. End of The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, read by Steve Parker.
I hope or I could not live is such a good line. The end is so good. I hope or I could not live. Ugh. The difference in people and animals is there's It's just, it's so much of the book is like comparing people to animals and how in nature we are the same, and then the end is him explaining how his spirit is so different, and that's what makes us different. And I was like, ah! You stare outside the thing forever. It's so good. It's like really, really long-winded for what it has to say, but there's so much build-up, and then the end is just like, ooh, really good. Let me grab some music real quick. Yeah. So that's our story. I hope where I could not live. Ugh. Oh, good. Turn you down. There we go. Anyway, what do you guys think? I can't believe any of it. Yeah, it's a little... Ooh. You survived the furry convention, crazy. I'm going to try to finish a little bit more of the storyboard. I think I can finish it today. But yeah, there we go. That's the island of Dr. Moreau. It's really interesting to me. Not just because of like the crazy doctor, like surgery transformation aspects of it, which I think are very interesting, but like the human/animal nature of it is so cool. Missed a lot of the book, but it was pretty fire. Is the first half of the book is just a lot of build up, I will admit, but it's a lot of like it's really ominous. They do a really good job of making you feel unsure. However, there are some... It is the movie adaptation. The movie sucks. The movie sucks, and they give him like a romance because they give Monroe like there's a girl or whatever. Irrelevant. They really missed the point. There's like a... Yeah, I don't know. The movie sucks. LM is like a magical version of Moreau. Yeah. Yes. Just as the same, he got banished from heaven, just as how Moreau got banished from Britain. I would say not a direct reference from LM, but something I probably can cite as a reference, because I do like this book. It's very interesting. LM is British! I feel like that makes sense. Actually, I'll be honest. But... yeah. Anyway, it's really good. I hope where I could not live is such a good line. Oh, my South baby. I love you, South baby. It was really weird. I like the weird shit Marlon Brando was doing, though. Apparently, the director got so stressed that he quit and ran into the jungle. Wow. In character, I guess. Yeah, I watched like some scenes from the movie and was like, why did they have a random girl love interest in here for no reason? They should have just made Pendrick and Montgomery have a fling. I think those guys have kissed. Isn't there like an orgy scene in the movie? They knew the source material was a bit gay! Gotta put in a lady to satisfy the straights. Boo. Imagine fucking well hearing a panther scream! Don't say that! Montgomery did purposely give the non-alcoholic alcohol. I don't recall an order, which I probably would have remembered. Ah, you know what? I'm gonna look it up. I know there's like a party, which gets really crazy. Famously features a disturbing, chaotic, quote, beast folk orgy or, quote, werewolf orgy scene. They're not werewolves. Drug and alcohol-fueled orgy. Did they turn Montgomery's, like, final, like, drinking thing? Yeah, I think that's what happened. These folk orgy? No, it's upsetting, because why did they do that? My fucking book, dude. I forgot that the costumes... What the fuck is this? Oh my god, the costumes are so funny. Some of the Beast Folk are good, but I've seen a play of Dr. Moreau, and it was really good. There's an orgy I didn't remember. Yeah, skill issue. Is this supposed to be Emling? Who is she? I hate her. Is this Moreau? They look like that. Why does she look like Lydia Dietz? Why is she here? Sorry, I'm getting really distracted. Anyway, yeah, so... Lydia, get out of there! Lydia, get out of there! Quite interesting. There we go. Okay, updated the stream title. I'm a professional. Unless the demons take me. And they might. Might. But I'm like really close to finishing this scene, and I really need to finish this animation because I want to at least get it done by the end of this month. You can do it. Thank you. I know it's gonna come out of nowhere. I can sense it. We were talking about, because I see two. There's two? I know there's one that is pretty popular. 90s one? Did they make another one? There's an earlier one? I think I've only heard about the 90s one. This is just making me think about Repo Man, I'm gonna be honest. Lemon, have you seen Repo Man? 77 is crazy. I was just thinking of Repo Man! Oh, I animated. I've animated it before. Is Repo animatic actually? This is Repo Man. This is your like one caveat for watching a movie. Does it feature an orgy? If not, I'm not interested. Does it feature an orgy that I don't remember happening? Really funny. And is the orgy good, or does it feature only two of the many? Huh. Is it good? I mean, it's a rock opera, so no, but I enjoyed it. It's very kitschy. It's very camp. But, like, I kind of like that about it. It's, in the distant future, surgeries become like a really mainstream fashion thing. However, if you don't have, you can essentially set up your surgery organs, your fancy new designer organs, up to be repoed. And then there is the repo man who comes in the night and repos your organs. That's like the plot. And then we find out who the repo man actually is, and he's got a life and like a ill daughter or whatever, and his daughter has some connection to the guy who does the designer surgeries or whatever. I don't know. The music is super mid. There's like a couple really good songs. It's just really kind of goofy and gory, but like I liked it. And it's a rock opera. It is a rock opera. There's like no talking in it. It's either full-on songs or that thing that they do in opera where they're not really speaking. They're just kind of sing talking, where they're like talking to a beat. It's kind of like it's really, I wouldn't say it's good, but it's really a treat. And it's a movie, yeah. We changed the main character's name and background. Oh wow. Kendrick, the guy from, It's a movie. It is a movie. It's kind of hard to find now, I think. One of my friends has it on DVD. I will say, the Repo Man, he's kind of hot. He's kind of hot. Repo Man! 1984. Wrong Repo Man. Repo Man is a song. Repo the Genetic Opera. That's the one I'm thinking about. Repo Man is a song from Repo the Genetic Opera. Sorry, I've mixed up my titles. Repro. That guy's a pussy. Yeah. Edward Douglas? United Nations negotiator? What? This is my Island of Dr. Moreau OC, apparently. This is Repo the Genetic Opera. See? Just fancy little suit. And if you are a women liker, we have Blind Mag, who is a really cool character. I really like Blind Mag. There is a lot of face gore. There's a lot of gore. Keep that in mind. Who is not blind? There is Blind Mag who is not blind. This is Blind Mag. She's really cool. Probably like my second favorite character. She is, as you can see, not blind. She has cybernetic eyeballs. She's really cool. Her song is one of my favorites from Repo. She's cool. She's like relevant. 96 movies set in somewhat modern day at the time because these people all have obedience implants. They're like the clones from Star Wars. That's stupid and defeats the point of the book. Completely moving into sci-fi, not pseudoscience. Yeah, that defeats the point of the book. It's about nature and oh, whatever. So there's 2 movies and they're both bad. Understood. Repo, the genetic opera. So they give up on fighting for it? No, the Island of Dr. Moreau movies are all bad. The Repo movie is bad, but I like it. Island of Dr. Moreau movies are bad, and they are bad. Fighting for the book. I blink at you. Huh? Monroe is already dead? What? What? What the fuck? Is this just like a different, is this their AU? I think they're talking about the other movie, Lemon. Yeah. A different one. Yeah. Apparently, they're both bad. One of them is from, what is he said, 1996, and the other one is 1977. The one without the orgy. Automod hates that word. Automod, I need you to calm down. We're talking about literature. There's apparently another movie about repossessing artificial organs, but it is not a rock opera. Oh, what is that one called? Now this I'm interested in. Oh, hi. Hey. Hi, Crow. Entire female love interest is Monroe's daughter being given cat DNA, which is bullshit, because what the fuck? Where did he get a daughter? Called Repo Man. Repo Man and Repo the Genetic Opera. I wonder if... Which one? I'm curious. Wonder if they're based on the same thing. Hi, Crow. Poke you in the eyeballs. We finished The Island of Dr. Moreau, and they discovered why I like it. And now we're talking about how there's movies, and all of them are bad, because one of them is a completely different story, but uses the title and some of the characters. And the other one is like, what if there was a heterosexual romance and also an orgy? What if there was a heterosexual romance? Because, you know, we can't have a male protagonist unless there's a woman, because that, you know, is clearly all that's important about the story, not that it has something to say about human nature and animal nature and society and shit. I hate when that happens. It's like there was already gay shit happening with him and the other character. Whatever, I'm not mad. I'm literally fine. I'm literally so normal. When it adapts to something, if it's not going to be vaguely resembling the story. Yeah, it's like, I'm normal, I'm fine. Smiles. How are you guys? This is my AU of The Island of Dr. Moreau, featuring completely different characters and also not even Monroe. Accurate story, literally. This is how I feel about Wednesday. I just want to be so clear. But I won't get started on that because I am a hater. just so we're aware. In the 1996, you're so right though, yeah. In the 96 one, Moreau is alive and on the island for a while. He's doing all sorts of weird stuff. Gets mauled or shot. Yeah. He got mauled by the how did they say puma in the book? Puma? He got mauled by the puma in the book. Moreau and Montgomery seem to be literally the only characters mostly unchanged. And the first one is dead. Oh, Montgomery, how I hate you, but also I love you. You are not my favorite. Emling is my favorite. Or Maling. Massacred my oddball. That's not what nuclear family is. Well, I guess technically, but... Doesn't that imply that they are normal? And they are... Like, they are man, woman, and... Does... never mind. They barely count. That's what I was like, I mean, like, technically, but like... like on paper, yeah. Public domain giveth and taketh away. I hate it here. Less interesting, Monroe. Sometimes we get Gatsby, but gay. To be fair, Gatsby was already pretty gay. To be fair. I have to finish this. And we could have made Pendrick gay. We could have made Pendrick gay. Why do you think his name literally says Dick? I need you to get rid of the R. Why do you think his name literally says Dick? His nuclear family, mom, dad, brother, sister. Nuclear family is just like poster child of correct family in quotes, but like technically they are because, you know, mom, dad, child's, you know, whatever. But like, are they really? Like, yes. However, comma. They are. But the whole thing is that they aren't. That they are not. No. They're like they are by definition. However, fuck you. Don't jot that down. The mother, father, and 1 to 2 kids. Doesn't count aunts, uncles, grandparents. They include aunts. Modern day adaptation, where Montgomery and Pendrick are gay for each other, and Dr. Monroe is just a pursuit maker. Okay, so we're gonna put a pin in this idea. I would like to explore, however, how a fursuit maker in this AU modern adaptation got banished from Britain. Probably use this real fur. So, like, I don't think you know it got canceled. I hate you. Yeah, so in the book they wrote a pamphlet, which was like the same as getting canceled nowadays. Same thing. Let that marinate for a bit. Brits hate fun and whimsy, therefore furries. Yeah, not because he was like doing illegal vivisection on animals. I don't know, I prefer if he's kind of crazy. We gotta make him kind of crazy. This is an important part of his character to me. To me specifically for no reason. Shut up. You can be crazy and be a fursuit maker. Okay, but where's the vivisection? I need my crazy doctor bullshit. Those fursuits into people? Ew. Ew. No, because, see, the thing is that theoretically, he's actually really smart. Fursuit making should be the least weird thing about him. The thing about Moreau is that, like, in some sense, he's, like, right? Like, he's wrong in what he's doing, but it is working to an extent. Like, he is a very intelligent man. Does that mean he should be allowed to do XYZ that he does and play God? No, that's the point. You say the same to Griff? Okay, Griff is beautiful, and you should keep that in mind. Griff does not affect vivisect and mutilate animals, so there's that difference. More like a Batman villain. We're never gonna get through this storyboard at this rate, gang. Remind me of the penguin. Alright, I jot that down. Dr. Moreau AU, but it's just Batman. Did you know that DC had a holiday comic where they made Batman King Wenceslas, which is crazy, because they were doing it for the Carol, but also that was a real man. Not that he was a king, he was a duke, but that's crazy. Batman is a saint now. In about 10 years. Oh. Interesting. Can't wait for them to find some way to get around that. So they don't really know his license? Exactly. Pull the Disney trick. Do. The Disney trick / nag. Older versions of the character can't be renewed. Purple gloves and guns. Oh, I forgot about that. Hello, Leviathan screaming. I forgot about that. That's the beasts. These are the beast men. Don't even worry. Kind of a pop up an island ambiance. What is island ambiance? Like ocean? No fucking clue. Oh, okay. Yay! My roommate throwing things around. I'm sorry. You're okay, you're perfect. Out of your last 2 boats burning, really funny? What do you want for dinner? I'm thinking tomato feta. Don't ask me questions. It fills me with fear. I don't know. I do not hunger. I'm not hunger. 2036. Captain and Batman kissing. You can do this now, fun fact. I should fuck. Alright. You always hunger. Unless I don't. So, jot that down. Sell pictures of the kissing. Yay! Chat, what are we eating for dinner? Insert Jeopardy music here. Thanks, Crow. Tomato. It's just a single tomato with feta cheese. Oh. Eaten pesto like for 2 weeks. Okay, well, pesto is good and has spinach in it, and spinach is high in iron. Pursuit Maker Monroe? I don't know if I want to do that! Never enough pesto. Pesto is tasty, delicious. I wonder if we will still end up naming future cat Pesto. Me and roommate were like, Pesto would be a great cat name, and then this was something we were thinking about. Vote tomato. Look at him go. Democracy is beautiful. It would be a good name. Pesto! Pesto. Kill this guy! Kill this guy, I say to myself. Oh! You're so fast. It's been so long since he's banned anyone. Best to do it, I think you were the only one of my mods that actually know how to do mod things, though. Okay, I love them all the same. They're perfect. Sylvia should be a mod. True. He doesn't trust me with a sword. No, but also you don't even want a sword. So jot that down. Tried to slander my good name when I'm literally the nice one. I'm so kind. Work on this, but I want to draw gay people. Life is beautiful, I say through tears. Is the evil one I can confirm? Yeah, yeah, you would be. Yeah. He's perfect. It's not perfect. That's what's wrong with him. He's a little fucked up. Oh, guys, have you considered that I want to draw gay men in ancient China? I want to draw them so bad. I have to finish this, I have to finish this. If I finish this, then I can animate them. You see, I have an idea. I have to lock in. I have to lock in. Reward system. It works great on me. Lock in, lock in. Let's give you a gold star. I hope the gold star is men kissing. Because there's something wrong with those guys. They do be yearning. I need them to experience domestic bliss. Oh, they love each other. Oh. Big gays in Little China, wait. That's really funny. You can draw them kissing as your reward. Okay, well, yes. However, I can't draw people kissing because it's hard. Big gays in Little China is really funny. I have to screenshot that. Hold on. I'm gonna save this. There we go. Perfect. What did you say to me? What did I say? I actually don't know. You tell me. Yeah, you heard me. What? Gays in Little China's really taking me out. But I can draw them and you said you don't know how to draw them kissing. Oh. Ah! So my reading comprehension may be a little low. You may have heard about this. This strange new phenomena I believe the kids are calling dyslexia. You may have heard about this. You may wonder why we listen to audiobooks instead of me reading real books. And this is because reading comprehension is low. Dracula drank his blood. God, I hope so. I wish he would do hot shit like that instead of making me look like an idiot. It's techier these days. What? What? Huh? Where am I? I'm scared. What is that noise? There's a sound. Am I being haunted? My roommate meows in the distance. Same letters but rearranged. Yeah, those aren't so bad for me. Most of the time, what happens, I know with me and sometimes with a lot of, like fairly common with dyslexia, is that if a word has the same first and last letter as another word, you will simply read it as a different, like that word. So that happens to me a lot. I just fill in the middle part with whatever I think it says. There's some common words that trip you up. Oh, I need you to know. So, my dyslexia is really bad. It's not like a specific. It's just everything. I'm putting him under a microscope. I think I've gotten better at it lately. However, when we play text-heavy games, that's when it gets particularly bad. Especially if there's a lot of words that are like the same length. I've noticed that they'll all kind of like blur together. That's a problem. That happens a lot with the Looker from Black and White, Pokemon Black and White, I've discovered. Yeah. Just curious, sorry if I came across poorly. No, you're okay. You're beautiful. Meh. No, I don't mind talking about dyslexia. It's not something I'm embarrassed about. In fact, it's something that I make sure people know about me because if they don't know, then I look really silly. These sticky... what? Sticky buns? Mother of God. Mother of pearl. I think I made a like little comic about Lexia on Patreon a while ago. I was considering posting it publicly at some point, but be real, I forgot. Thank you, though. It's definitely something that, like, when I was little, I did not know that, like, dyslexia was a thing. Nor did anyone say that mention that I could have it. So I felt really dumb for the longest time. Because, like, I can't read. No, I'm eating all of them. Damn. Did you get groceries? Did the snow stop? You go to the grocery? Yes. Ah, beautiful. Will be really good at making people feel stupid? Yeah. Everything on our list. Perfect. I can... Never mind. I was gonna say I can make food tomorrow, but you're not gonna be here tomorrow. We're gonna go hang out with your family. Ugh, shaking my head. This fucking guy. I'll tell them you did not pay. Please don't. I want to finish this section of the storyboard. Or stream ends. We're almost at 3 hours and I also don't want to stream for very long today. Maybe I just go, oh wow. Have you considered that maybe I just simply don't care? Might be the demon stalking. The demons. No, wait, that was me. I'm the demon. I said that. Full 5 hours. Oh, yeah. What I was talking about was simply ending stream and not finishing this. Not tonight. I should. Must do workies. Want to get this done before the DLC drops, because the DLC drops and everyone's gonna be into Cult of the Lamb again. Want to have part 2 finished. Creature, there you are. I'm gonna ask my dad to draw men if you finished, but I guess not. No, he's been drawing them a lot lately. He's beautiful and super cool and awesome, and I want to draw them. It's a trade system, you see. Wawa draws them, and then it makes me want to draw them, and then I draw them, and it makes Wawa want to draw them, and then we just feed on each other's constant art flow. Now it's my turn. Made your head too big. The image just made you too small in general. I love this fruity ass little hand movement of the it's really funny to me. Okay, I just have one more pose for the goat for this here. Got these. Whoops, I got those. And then we're done with 2 scenes today. Perfect. Oh, I forgot that I still had this open. Rita! Was it your producers of Saw? I didn't even know that, actually. Huh. Paris Hilton. You know? I must workies. I'm so locked in, guys. Trust me, I would never lie. I'm literally kind. Match your head shape, and then I'm going to and us now. I love making their faces just making their real expressions really silly. They're like Play-Doh to me. Maxie got locked out of the apartment. Are you, outside? The door unlocked button, pretty please. I will come get you 1 second. He's back inside. Oh, same. The Hawks did not take him. It was a close call. I saw them circling. Way too strong and buff for that. Okay, man. And he's so humble too. Go back outside. It is cold. It's been fucking snowing all morning. That is smelling great. Well, it could be a pesto. I guess since you don't love pesto, we can't name our cat Pesto. Our future cat. Our news station's talking about y'all having crazy car crashes. What? Now, are you stalking us? Our chat decided. Yeah, I'm just being evil about it. You see, I side with Crow. He's talking. Now I'm scared. Now we have to name our cat Feta. Shaking my head. I did see a news thing talking about stuff going on over here. Could never die personally. Yeah, kind of a skill issue. I would never do such a thing. Yeah, I do have to fake die sometimes, because once you've lived for a few centuries, people start to look at you a little funny. And they're like, wait a minute, what? So you have to fake die sometimes, but that's pretty easy to do, all things considered. Harry the Grim Reaper. Nah, she's pretty cool. I never really, this is semi-related, but not really. I never really understood, like, fear of dying because, like, listen. Like, I know, fucking obviously, I'm not an idiot. But, like, growing up, my relationship with, like, death and stuff because, of, like, the way I was raised has been very different. We view death very differently. It's more of, like, a peaceful thing, I guess. You'll see death as a curse since it can happen whenever. Yeah, but it's it was never really like that in our culture, I guess. It feels weird. Different. I do have to wash the dishes anymore. Yeah, I can. No more dishes for me, I have died. I know, I feel like you're also like a... Well, I was also raised on a farm, so you're like around things dying a lot more. You have a much more of an understanding of it at a younger age. So it's... Ow, I kicked my desk. Oh, I need to reset the out timer! I gotta figure out how to do that. Yeah, anyway. Very different. I wonder if I can do that now. Let's see. Mans. I reset you. How do I... Hello! Welcome in! I'm working on an animatic for Cult of the Lamb stuff while we're talking about... whatever. Well, B&G, thanks! This is just the winter version, but... I worked very hard on it. It's like it's fully animated. I do like to animate. Nice. Ah, validation from the people, which is what I crave. I need more people to compliment me more often so that I can grow a big ego. More on character design myself. Oh. I love character design. It's just lazy. I think there's some... Oh god, I'm so interested in character design. There's really effective ways to do character design without making them complex though, you know? You can make really simplistic character designs that are really effective and appealing. In my opinion. So much to say on character design. If you're into character design, boy do I have the series for you. In my humble onion. Can I share an OC? We don't allow links, so you can talk about them if you want. But otherwise... Let's see, Arno. There we go. Your beautiful little horns. You're so cute. I've kind of lost the essence of how I draw the goat's hair the more that I draw them. I just kind of put shapes, and if it balances well, I'm like, enough. There's no actual specific, like, shape or style, just sharp and balance. Yeah, look at him. Look at that freak. Probably just licks his hoof. Pulls it back and praise. That's what Mason does. Smiles. Gross. Yeah, Mason's pretty gross. I love you, Mason. I hate him. I hate Mason. I should make a Mason command, except also I hate him. So... Have you even thought about Outlast AU Mason? Because I do be thinking about it. Since Outlast is winning the... Outlast 2, rather, is winning the newest Patreon poll, I be thinking. Be pondering. Darling. Oh, he's so gross! Darling. Oh, if you guys haven't seen the fucking short that I did about Whistleblower, the Outlast DLC, good lord, scary as shit. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? YouTube, thanks, Val. He's gross. He's so gross. He's a very well-written villain. He's so gross. Everyone needs to watch the Outlast video, the highlights video, before we play Outlast 2. You must, you must. Do an OCR9 stream soon? Stream? I tilt my head. I thought about doing, like, an R&R, OCR&R live event, after we finish season 1 of OCR&R, which would be the, like, basic fundamentals of character design that we're talking about. Then I was thinking about doing, like, a stream live event, but we still got a few fundamentals to go through. We have, clothing design, which, gosh, there's gonna be so much to talk about when it comes to discussing the ways to utilize clothing design and character design, because there's so much there's so much that clothing does. I want to talk about color, which again, there's a lot of ways to use color theory in character design or simplify it or whatever. Talk a bit about backgrounds, both in writing and in art sense, but that one's less about the character design, more just about, you know, the art itself, I suppose. I think there was a few more maybe, but I don't remember them. Just the fundamentals. It's fun because when I make an RCR video, I get to research and collect resources for information on character design as well, so we learn together. Ones we've covered so far, like, I think posing, silhouette, shape language, others, maybe. Are we on how many episodes? 3, 4? I don't remember. It's been a minute since the last one because I've been working on animations, but I want to do another one. Check. Okay, you do you. The fun series that I get to have an excuse to draw other people's characters and talk about character design. Talk about OCR&R, OC review and redraw. Re-review your original characters based on our bad taste. Smiles. 5 episodes. Wow. It's a lot more than I thought. Is that one? Cool. I will save it forever. We'll have more episodes soon, hopefully. Oh, thank you for the follow. Next episode, about clothing design. I'm really excited for that one, but also, gosh, it's gonna be a mess. I have all my references already saved, and I know which character I'm gonna be talking about, but I need Chubby to finish up his avatar so that we can record. There's so much to talk about with clothing design, guys. There's so much to it. It's so interesting. My clothing design, I just suggest looking at mine. It's definitely different. I will. When I do my next episode, I suppose. We'll save it. Don't you worry. Everybody gets their moment of fame to talk about their OC. This is not true. I'm lying to you. We've been playing Pokemon a lot. Ah, you playing the new one? We've been playing Pokemon Black and White. Dream. We've been playing ZA. Okay, there's 3 more frames to do, and then we can end stream. I'm almost done. Three more frames. 3 more poses. We're golden. Hasn't even in yet. No, I don't want to stream for that long, don't worry. Ew. Oh, that scared me. Looks like a goat. This is the goat from Cult of the Lamb. I'm doing an animatic for the game, sort of. This right here is fan art. Sorry, this music is playing then? Nah, we always play video game music. It just helps me focus. This music is actually from Inscription. Great game, by the way. You just said that it sounded cultish. Well, you wouldn't be wrong. But we didn't quite get to 200 followers this year, guys, but we are really close. I think we're like 8 followers off, so that's exciting. On Twitch. We're almost at 1K on YouTube. Though I'm pretty sure a lot of those are deadlocks. Or sorry, not deadlocks. Dead channels? Dead accounts? I'll be honest. But that's okay. We're 8 off. 8 off. We're close. My brother is playing rave music. She does have a pretty good taste in music. Listen to rave music. Who is he becoming? I threw the rest of our spinach in there. Okay, yeah. Fill out the shape of his hair a little bit. Sure. If I'm getting a video to 50k views on my bingo card, that's a lot. 50k is a lot, dude. My highest is 15. I'm ambitious. You gotta do something funny. Oh, okay. Okay, guys, I have to go viral. Do a flip right now. I was really tempted to like smack the shit out of my desk to imply that I had attempted a flip and failed, but I didn't have the will in me. Should've. I didn't want to deal with the loud noise, I'll be honest. Your shape, dude, your shape. Think about the shapes. Shit. I'm gonna curve this horn a little bit more. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Sure. I remember that this is supposed to be like a quick animatic, and then I have already been way too precious about it, and it's taken way too long. So keep that in mind. I am trying too hard. What's new? The program hopefully isn't true. I finished some rough sheets recently. I didn't see any. I will save all of the new ones to my archive. I can't ensure that we will get to them anytime soon, because each episode we essentially do 2 OCs, and we got quite a bit every time we do Art Fight. But basically what happens if an episode theme matches whatever. Okay, pause, reverse, we try again. Each episode is themed, and I tell my co-host the theme, and then we both, without telling each other, pick an OC that fits this theme, and then present that OC to the other co-host to talk about and discuss that theme, both in character design and in a writing sense. That's how it works. Maybe I will, after we do the fundamentals, have more guests and stuff. My co-host switches all the time anyway. I think it'd be fun to have more people on. Plus the fun in having different like co-hosts and stuff means that you get different perspectives when it comes to story and writing, because I have my biases when it comes to character designs and writing and stuff, and you know, everyone will have different things they like and different things that they have interest in, I suppose, so then every host is going to portray a topic differently. Is why I would say I don't judge designs whether they're good or not. It's more so if I think they effectively communicate whatever theme we are currently talking about. If you had fun making your OC, then it's a good OC. Congratulations. My daughter is drawing her. Yay! You sent your daughter in for R&R ages ago. You did. She is in there. Don't you even worry. Too bad. The downside of if you send me stuff, you might make an updated ref for them later that I will not have. It will be taking me 5 billion years to get to them. Orgy. That's my daughter's. No. That's simply not true. We're lying. Okay, I'm almost done with these few frames, and then we are good to go. This pose makes me think so much. This is a deep cut. This makes me think so much of that specific scene from the Adventure Zone that I rewatched recently, where Magnus is like, well, if we forsake the other people, that's bad. And fucking Taco's like, well, then maybe you should have been the one to pick the button. It makes me think so much. It just reminds me of that. You should have been the person to pick. I love you, Adventure Zone. Soon I will know it. One day. One day you will come home from war. Head size is about the same. I really gotta make an end scene. Maybe I'll work on that. For the new year. I was thinking about the lobotomy song and that it makes me want to make a ending stream screen. It's so silly. Lobotomy. Guys, I could really go for a lobotomy right about now. You're gonna get lobotomies together? Whoa, man, you're moving a bit too fast. Oh, sorry. Yeah, dude. Keep it together. I need you to stop objectifying me. You just want me for my lobotomy. Lobotomies before marriage, for shame. Very uncouth. Next you're gonna say you want to make eye contact. Shake my head. You'd never marry me. Yeah, you're right. First base is holding hands, second base is kissing, third base is getting lobotomies together. Yeah. He's married to the prince, it's true. My frog prince. I miss him every day. Third base. Really funny. This is pose turning out so good. I'll probably fuck it up with the hair because his hair gives me issues, but... I'm afflicted. Dude, get it together. Afflicted by parenting. I'm afraid it's turn. I need her to hang out with her family now. You have the power. You can do anything you want forever. Blinking ceramics. Thank you. Okay, this is the last frame I had to do for this scene. So I'm going to go ahead and end stream there, I think, now that this is all done. I gotta do some editing and shit, and then I gotta storyboard the next scene. And I'm about 3/5 of the way done with the animatic. I'm over halfway, but not quite. Like 3/4. Actually, I might be after these. Almost done. Very close to being done. I will maybe post a whip of this on Patreon, but otherwise make sure that you catch the first half of My Cult of the Lamb animatic on YouTube. This is part 2 that I'm working on, so watch the first part. It's very funny. Otherwise, I post art and stuff on Tumblr, and you can check out that stuff, I suppose. Let me see if anyone I know is streaming. Anyone I can send you guys to? Nope. Whatever. And it's just me you have to deal with. I will send you guys on your way. Thanks for tuning. Yeah, thanks you guys for hanging out. I will see you on Saturday. We'll do another art stream. And then we will maybe play Outlast next week. Outlast 2. It was fun today. Yay, I'm glad. I'll see you guys on Saturday. Bye 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 bye.